Good evening, everybody. This is Leah, Ryan, and Loft Manager Richard from the Pioneer Racing Pigeon Club of Ontario, here with your Monday night family show. I'm going to check to make sure we're live on Facebook because we're doing a little bit differently this evening because my laptop crapped her out. So I'm going to send it over to Ryan while I check to make sure we are live on Facebook. Take it away, Ryan.
Hey Leah, I'm online here and I'm hoping I'm getting a phone call. I forgot to just mute everything, so I'm gonna hope that main screen comes back on.
Yeah, it did.
Uh,
Okay, so we'll wait
it,
until that comes back on. We're just going to look at your half of your head there in the meantime.
there we are. I think she's back and running.
No, it's still jammed.
She is jammed. Well,
checking to make sure we're live on Facebook, so I don't know. We see half your face.
well, you know what? That's the beauty of this show. And again, we start off with a big kerfluffle. But you know what? Kerfluffles are kind of like pigeon racing. You never know when the kerfluffle is going to happen, but we know the kerfluffle will happen. She's going to happen, and she's guaranteed to happen. And, kerfluffles. Now that we're on Facebook today, we're not going to be on YouTube because we're had a kerfluffle. I want to welcome everyone. Kerfluffles. When do they happen? Can they happen in a breeding season? Can they happen in weaning season? Can they happen training season, mid-race season, at the end of the season? This is what makes pigeon racing so great, just like this family show you see. The kerfluffles, they just happen. And you got to move and adapt. And you can't write it down. Can't. You got to switch on the fly. You got to feel it. We had this kerfluffle here. Leah, is the camera working now?
It is working now, yes. Thankfully.
By the jingle, those birds came home today. Leah, back to you on this Monday. How are you doing?
Great. Want to give a shout out to Wayne is in the house. Derek Tavares is in the house. Now tonight, since we're not on YouTube, I think I can actually show the comments. Can I? Let's see if I can. I can. Look, Derek Tavares giving us the big high five, the big wave. Hello, Derek. Nice to see you. David Tracy is in the house. Nice to see you on. David Tracy. Jason Mihalik is in the house. Hello, hello. Who else do we have? Michael Peevler. You're always the first to the party. Nice to see you on. What are we talking about tonight, Ryan? Other than kerfluffles.
Well, we got lots of big news. The Pioneer, again, we're moving in the right direction. And you want to know what? We're starting to branch out now, eh? I've been talking to other clubs that are in our area, and I'm just doing it for fun, you know? I think this sport is so good, we need to expand it, right? We've got a lot of good clubs in the area. We do. And the YRI, the York Region Club, I gave them a shout out there. I messaged the guys. I talked to the club president by messenger. And I've invited them to come down to Pioneer to play in our Thursday league with us. Because you know what I'm thinking? Who doesn't want a little bit more pigeon flying in the season? The seasons are just so short. We've got to extend the olive branch, Leah. This is a great sport. We've got a lot of great people flying in our areas. You know, we got to get more clubs involved. I was here on Saturday at the Feathers Elite Christmas party. We had a great set of auction birds on, and the room was having fun. People were singing. It was a live, fun party. The pigeons were there. The people were having a good time. And you know what? It's going to keep growing, but we just got to keep expanding and working on that muscle.
Well, I see our club this year coming on here, especially with our band race. And what it does is makes flyers want to do better next week or want to do good in 6 weeks from now when the races start. So, you know, what I'm thinking is if each flyer buys 30 bands and puts five, he buys $3 bands, $5 bands, everyone five.
Yeah.
He nominates 30 birds.
Yeah.
Right. And puts those 30 birds, if they can make it to the race, the races.
Yeah.
He's flying every single week for the money, right?
In those categories.
In categories.
But
he could win the $3 $2 band, or maybe he could win the $5 band, or maybe he can come second in the $100 band. So, but you know what I'm saying.
But you want to know what's great?
It makes guys want to come to the club and say, guess what? I won the $5 this week. I won $80.
That's great.
Right.
But think about it. When we're here on Saturdays, okay, or when we were doing our shippings,
Right.
when we didn't have any prize money. This weekend, we just had an open house. We had no prize money. How fun was the room? People had a great time. They were enjoying. They had some food. They looked at some pigeons. They talked pigeons. We had almost a little pigeon seminar going on. We had fun. It's not about winning money, right? It's more than money. It's about getting together and having a real club, a real commitment, a real togetherness. And we got to remember that. Money is great. We're going to have the money. But we want to make sure there's no point in winning money if I go to a club and I can't stand the look of people either.
Let me just say something. 1975, I was a member of the Stouffville Club.
Right.
And we had 12 members. We were allowed to ship 20 birds per week.
Yep.
Okay, here's how it goes. We were allowed... it was only your first 3 birds clocked that would be read on your Benzing
manual clock
ticker, right? But there was only 10 birds read.
They got a reading in the club,
right? So in other words, for example, we had the darn good flyers: Bill Sheridan, Carl Jr., Carl Sr., Albert Findelman.
Yeah, all the good players.
We had a lot of guys there, good flyers. So let's just say Bill Sheridan got 10 on a drop.
Right.
And he was ahead by 15 minutes.
Right.
They'd only read his first 3 birds, even though he had 10. And we only posted 10 birds.
Yeah.
So Findelman got 2. He got his 2 read ahead of me or somebody. Yep. Right.
And it went on. He only showed the first 10. So there was a lot of times that I can remember we would come home because we were busy. I was a little kid, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't make the top 10 all season.
You weren't even born then, but later on, yeah.
Later on, I still remember. There was times when we didn't make the first. I remember when we were flying and we didn't make the first 25, and all they showed was the first 25. I remember that.
Yeah, it went in the Far North Club.
In the Far North Club, which used to be, it's really the York Region Club. That club, it dissolved into 2. Yeah, that's what it was. The York Far North is gone. That's the last part of it. But anyways.
Yeah. Those members, I don't even know.
Well, no, because they took it over after we moved on to other clubs like the Lakeport and etc. But that club there, we were in that club.
So all it was you worked, and first 10 birds in the club, they were read. You only got 3, and sometimes we had guys like, let's say Bill Sheridan, he clocked 10 on a drop. He blew everybody away, but they only read his first 3 birds, and sometimes there was only 4 guys that ever got a reading out of 12 on that, right? So,
I remember even in the combines, they would only show the first 20 birds or 25 birds. They didn't show bird that clocked 250th. But anyways, you know what? It's interesting. It's interesting how things have evolved and changed. But we've got to get more people involved. And our Thursday shipping night.
But I'm saying here, if you're 100th clocked and you were the first $100 bird.
You're going to win. You're going to win some good money.
You won the $100 band.
Yeah, that's right.
If you were 40th and you were the first $3 bird clocked,
you're going to win.
You're going to win your $80. You know what? Hell with being first on the sheet.
You know what I want to win?
What?
I want to win that guys come to this club and they have fun. They say, boy, it was fun coming here. We had food. We had some drinks. We talked to guys. We're here till 11 o'clock at night. It was fun. We didn't have to drive to a trailer to put them on. Everything's put on right here. It's beautiful. Anyways, Leah, me and Richard have just rambled on.
Yeah, I don't know. You just started off. Anyway, first and foremost, I want to give everybody a shout out who is watching. I want to thank everybody who came to the Pioneer Christmas party and the Feathers Elite open house on Saturday. For everybody that came, we had a great time. I want to thank you guys for coming. We had some new faces, some old faces, and it was just great to see everybody enjoy the spirit, the Christmas spirit, and we really did have a lot of fun. And I want to thank everybody for coming. It was great to meet participants like Scott Hall came. It was the first time we met him. Great to see him. We got Mark from Wasaga Beach who came down. It was great to see and meet him. Just there was the Lestano Loft. I probably said that wrong, but he brought his son. It was a great time. I just want to thank everybody who did make a point, take time out of their day to come on down on Saturday to the Pioneer Christmas party. We had a great time, so thank you. And that is, when Ryan and I first, and Richard, developed what we're going to do, we're going to start the club, our main goal was to create a place of fun. Friendly competition and fun. Fun being the main thing. But this is before we got into money bands and $100 bands. We initially started out to create a club where people could come and have fun again. Correct, Ryan?
100%. That was the real main goal.
Right.
If I can say something about the band race.
We're not there
This
yet.
band race.
We're not,
no, I'm just going to say, you said, wait, this is like having an open race every weekend, 8 or 9 weeks.
But this was before that, right?
Oh.
We're evolving. We're moving at a quick pace. This is before that. The real goal is to have fun, give people a fun place to ship herds, like back in the day when it was fun to go to the Pigeon Club. When it wasn't like going to a funeral or you can't even look at somebody and they give you a dirty look. We don't want that here.
It was really about times when Ryan and I remembered as children, Loft manager Richard taking us to the club. And I remember it fondly. As a little girl, every Friday night, my dad and I would go to the club. And it was never fighting. It was never arguing. It was never anybody looked at you sideways. It was a family environment where we all had fun together. I used to play with the kids, meaning, Mike Sheridan and his sisters and the Groves and those kids. And it was a fun time. And Ryan, I think you can remember that as well. And for some reason, we've kind of gotten away from the fun part of racing, which we're trying to bring back. Now, we started this band racing for this year because we thought we would up the ante. We would give people not only fun, but let's start really competing, whether it's in the $3 league or the $5 league or the $10 league. We know how much money and effort and time you guys all put into your pigeons. We know it because Loft manager Richard's done it himself, and so is Ryan, and etc. And so we thought, hey, maybe people would want to get a little bit back as to what they put out, as opposed to, yes, a piece of paper's lovely and a trophy's lovely, and that's all great, but we thought, hey, how about we put a little bit of cash in your pockets? And so Ryan and I developed this band race and this band racing where people could pick their price points and mix and match and go to work and see what your pigeons can do for you. Now, of course, we partnered up with Benzing last year. We think it's the absolute #1 best clock in the world. We highly recommend that everybody gets it. But we understand that not everybody is in a financial position, or whatever the situation is. Maybe they're not ready to take that leap. Maybe they're happy with their Unicon or their Tips or their Taurus or whatever it is that they use, and they're just not quite ready yet because we are, quote unquote, new. Now, keep in mind, folks, we're not new. My father's been racing pigeons since he was a small boy. He was a member of the Up North House League Combine for over 40 years. We're not new at pigeon racing in any way, shape, or form, okay? But I get it. People are afraid. They don't want to leave their club. They don't want to give up their clock. It's a financial commitment, and we get that. So, after speaking to each other and speaking to some of our club members, what have we decided for this year?
This is the big announcement, right? What have we decided?
Well, you've already started talking about it, so let's just say what it is.
Well, this is one of our big announcements of today. We're going to allow other clocking systems to participate in Pioneer. We're going to allow the Unicons, the Tips, the clocking systems that are around here that people have. We're going to allow those clocking systems to participate.
Yes, for the 2022 season, Troy Spencer is asking for our inaugural money band season, if you want to call it. We wanted to go all Benzing because we wanted it to be computerized and no No chance for human error, because anybody who has a benzing knows that the minute that that pigeon crosses the pad, the benzing technology takes care of the rest. We don't have to manually input results. We don't have to do clock off. We don't have to do any of that. But for those of you that aren't willing at the moment to make that purchase for a benzing clock, we are going to allow all clocking systems for the 2022 season to take part in our money band Pioneer Professional Racing Pigeon League series. So hopefully that will make the decision for people a little easier. We also, FYI, ship on Thursday nights, meaning it's not going to get in the way of if you are a member of another club, it's not going to get in the way of the other clubs. Okay? We don't want you to have to pick and choose. If you've been a member of the York Region Club for 20 years and you love that club, we don't want to take you away from your club. We want to give people in the Greater Toronto Area options and have a place for you to come on Thursday nights where it's kind of next level racing, meaning, you can buy your $3 bands, your $5 bands, and you can go to work. And we're opening it up to all clocks. That's our big announcement. What do you guys think about that? Mike Vandriak, the first one to comment, says, good decision, as benzing cannot be used in most other local clubs. Well, and so we have bent our rules to allow more people to come on board. And hopefully the people who do come on board are going to see how easy the benzing clocking system is. And maybe in 2023, that's something that they might think about. If we get enough people, we've also talked about putting our heads together and thinking about fundraisers, of how we can fundraise for our club members. If maybe at the end of the season, everybody's going to get a brand new benzing clock. But that's going to take members to do that. And we're all going to work together to do that.
Yeah, and I believe if the people from the outside come and support and they play and they enjoy and they participate at the end of the season or whenever we do a fundraiser, because we are very good at fundraising, because we care and we want to see it happen and go good. Like Leah says, our goal is to be able to fundraise so everyone can get a clock. Or we get the clocks at half price, or whatever we can do. But remember, this isn't going to be Richard, Leah, and myself fundraising. We're going to do it as a group.
As a club, as a unit.
As a unit. And that's the goal, is to eventually have people that can come and play, and they're all going to use the benzing clock. And they can still keep their clocks and still continue to play where they're playing. But eventually we want to make everyone go onto this clocking system, because trust me, you will all very much enjoy it.
Now, Troy says, not using benzing, the waiting will be a few days to get the results. That is correct, Troy. Because we're opening it up to all clocking systems, yes, those that have the Unicons, the Tips, the Taurus, anything other than benzing, results will have to be entered manually. Now, because there is more time and effort into doing that, the one rule is, if you do not have a benzing clock and you're using another clocking system, there will be an additional administration fee along with your membership of $100, an additional $100, and that is going to be because we have to take the time to manually input your results every single week. I think that that's fair. What do you guys think?
I think it's more than fair. And remember, manually entering, it means people have to check. There could be human error. We really, that was the one thing about the benzing, it doesn't make the error. Right. So now we have to add a human to this. And you know what? There could be the odd error, and we have to double check and triple check our work. And that takes time.
Right.
Okay? Also, for people that are using other clocking systems other than benzing, they are going to have to get a strike off at their clubs that they fly in. So we save the people from driving back here to strike off. So your strike offs for your clocks, your Unicons, or whatever that may be, that will be done at your club. You'll strike off. We'll tell you how to send us your results. And away we go.
Mike Vandiak says the $100 admin fee is a great compromise. Well, we just tried to make it fair for everybody. Entering all the results, it is time consuming, it's labor intensive, and to make sure it's done right, and we think it's only kind of fair. And Henry says, I think that's fair because it's more work for us guys. Yeah, and we want to make sure that it's done correctly. When there is money on the line, whether it's the $3 league or the $5 league or the $10, it doesn't matter what league it's in. It doesn't even matter if it's money on the line or not. We want to make sure that the results are inputted correctly, and those things take time. So, unfortunately, for this year, if you do have a Benzing, no, the results are not going to be automatic. They will be for you, but I mean the final club result is going to take a few days, depending on when we get everybody's results in and how long it takes for us to input it all. Now, I'm not saying it's going to take weeks and weeks and weeks. No, it's going to be done before, obviously, the next shipping night, but it's going to take a little more time than if everybody had a Benzing. So that's part one of our announcement.
And I think, we've purchased a beautiful transporter for these pigeons. We've come up with a great band philosophy. We have a great clocking system. And we've got in the Southern Ontario a lot of pigeon flyers that want to race for fun. They want to race competitive. They want to do it all. We want to make it open for everyone and give everyone a fair opportunity. You know what? Come on out. Fly with us on the Thursday night shipping. You will have an outstanding time, I promise you. I really do. Just give us an opportunity is all we're asking.
Well, that's right. And if the other clubs, like, we don't care. If you want to be member of the Scugog or the Peel or the YRI, or we honestly, to God, we do not care. We've never cared. And, if you're working with another club, and they're going to give you a hard time because you're shipping with us on Thursday, that's not a Leah, a Richard, or a Ryan thing, or a Pioneer thing. That is whatever club you're a member of. That's their issue. So don't take it out, you know what I mean? Like, don't take it out on us, or don't not come to Pioneer because there's some jealous people in your other club that make you feel unwelcome. That should not be the reason why you don't come and do this. It's a great opportunity for people in the Greater Toronto area. It's a great idea, and I think it's going to take racing to the next level here. So please, if you have it in your heart that you want to try this, don't let anybody stand in your way. Just do it.
That's right. Do it. Give it a shot. Give it a try. You know what? You try for one season and make your own decision. Try. Come out. Give us a fair shot. We're going to give you our best here at Pioneer. I am going to tell you, the members that we have in this club, they are a great group of guys. They're fun to talk to. The camaraderie is great. Everyone works together. People are saying congratulations, right? People are helping out. And you know what? People stick around, and it's a group. And that's great. And you know what? We want to add to this group. We want to get this trailer over. We want to max it out this year with 3,000 pigeons on it. Because next year we want to say, hey, Leah, we did the fundraiser this year and got a whole bunch of people clocks. Next year we're going to have to do a fundraiser to get a bigger trailer. That's the goal. Let's get up to a 3,000 to 5,000 bird per week racing program. Because I'll tell you, there are going to be some impressive results.
If anybody has questions, it doesn't have to be about the bands or the club, but if you have pigeon questions, pigeon health questions, pigeon care questions, racing questions, training questions, please don't be shy. Put them in the comments, and either Loft Manager Richard or Ryan will answer them for you. Jay-Z, nice to see you on. Mike Sheridan said, I laughed so much at the Christmas party blast. And, it was great to have Mike there, and Mike brought Scott along, and this is how the sport grows, right? This is how we grow. People come, they see, it's fun. We're not a bunch of jerks. We don't look at you sideways, and we just have an enjoyable time. Don't take our word for it. Ask some of our club members that participated with us last year. You can ask Mo, you can ask Henry, you can ask Frank Eichhorn. Who else did we have last year? We asked Troy, ask Troy Spencer, ask anybody that came for shipping for our gold band race. What are we like on shipping night? How does it work? And they'll tell you. It's a fun time. It's a fun time.
Fun.
We have a question from Shaquille. Shaquille, hi Ryan and Richard. Please do a video how to identify a champion pigeon by handling them. Oh boy.
Oh. Champion pigeon. Yeah, well, hey, they you know what, you're gonna feel you know what you're handling or what you're feeling for. I don't know. Sometimes it's very hard to tell people how to, you know.
First of all, you have to have the pigeon fingers. You have to handle, I don't know how many birds you've handled in your life, but for some reason it takes time. And like Ryan said, for every 100 birds you handle in your loft is what? One
pigeon year.
One pigeon year. So you've developed that feeling in your hands. So the bird should feel buoyant. The bird shouldn't be deep like a turkey carcass. It should have a nice backflow, and it should have the vents in the back should be nice and tight. And that takes time to get that feeling in your hands. It's like riding a bicycle. How do you get to ride a bicycle?
Like explain to somebody how to ride a bicycle. It's very, very hard. You have to first get on and try. But and again, the one thing I will say to you, if you want to get pigeon fingers the quickest way, when you go to people's lofts to handle, go and handle their winners and their super birds, and always handle, and try and get your hands to remember it. You're going to feel some differences, but you will feel a lot of the winning birds. They will have a lot of the same characteristics.
Have that memory.
Have that same feel. It's like, muscle memory. You're going to remember what your hands felt like. If you go to a guy's loft that just has a bunch of run-of-the-mill pigeons, pigeons that he's not putting the work into, he's not doing the work, or whatever. He's a bottom of the pack kind of guy. It's going to be very, very hard to feel that in him, because you just, see, it's easier for us to go to somebody's place and maybe he's not the best flyer, handle a pigeon. I go, oh, out of all those birds, so I like this one. And the guy says, that's my best bird. But meanwhile, the guy's not a very good flyer. But I handled it. I think this is your best one. And he says, oh, that's my best one. You get it, though, by handling pigeons and handling pigeons and handling pigeons.
There's what, 5 or 10% on, let's say, on a combine flying, let's say 70 to 100 flyers. So that would mean out of 100 flyers, there's 10 good, serious flyers. And take the very best flyer on that speed average or whatever, go and visit him and visit them down to about that 10%.
Yeah.
And handle their best birds. And you'll start to get the pigeon fingers. Right? Most 90% of the best birds are out there feel pretty well the same.
Yeah, they have a lot of the same characteristics. Yeah. And another thing, if you handle a champion bird that won all the races under 200 miles or, got all of its points, under the 200-mile mark, it's going to probably feel a little bit different than a pigeon that's one champion bird that's gone out to 300 or 400 miles and he earned more points towards the end. There'd be a little difference there. But you have to go and handle pigeons and handle pigeons and handle pigeons. I know any one loft race I go to, the first thing I want to handle is the average speed winning birds. That's the very first thing.
Can I cut in here?
Go ahead, Richard.
And then we have comments and questions, so then we're going to move it along.
All right, just move it along.
I hate to say
let
it,
Dad
but
say something. Go ahead.
I don't go to buy any one loft pigeons.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm saying if I
your one loft here, I handle those pigeons.
Right.
Okay,
I know
because they worked.
Okay. I'm saying for the races that I go to, that I go and participate in, I like to handle the average speed winning birds. I didn't say every race. I said the races that I'm interested in, the ones that impress me. Back to you, Leah.
So Claudia says it's all about feeling, and I think that's what you guys are trying to say there. And Mike Vandriak says, watch any video of Ryan rating the auction birds. That is what we look for. It is no sure thing, but it helps shorten the odds. And that is exactly right, Mike, and that is why we do those little 2-minute videos on our auction page. So Ryan can kind of act as your fingers, and he can tell you what he's feeling with his pigeon fingers, who's had 40 years of experience and handled thousands and thousands and thousands of pigeons. Not only race pigeons, but import pigeons, you know, the whole 9 yards. We already know the story with Ryan and Richard. They've handled a hell of a lot of pigeons in their lifetime. And I think it's true as well. The only way that you get good at it is by continually doing it over and over and over again. And that's how you get to know the feeling of what handles good and what doesn't handle good. I like to see on the weekends here, we see a lot of the new guys, which I love to see. They come every single weekend and they go through. Oh, we got kitty attack here. Kitty attack. They go through all the birds and they handle them, whether they're buying or they're not buying. They come, they feel, they handle. And I see that week after week, Ryan, with the new guys. And that's great to see. They're taking our advice. They're coming. They're handling. That's how you get better.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, another thing for new guys, I think this is, I'm going to call this a Canadian thing because I've really only done auctions here in Canada. So I'm going to go with the.
And then, Brian, we're going to get to your question. Go ahead.
Okay. In Canada, there is some type of a myth that birds that are over, you know, a yearling. So let's say a year, you know, this year's baby or last year. So under a yearling, they're okay to buy. Anything over, if it's a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, they're no good. Because if they were any good, the breeder would not get rid of them. Okay? Now, this to me is the biggest, it's bad. Don't think like this.
Where's the noise?
Do not think like this.
I got to get the noise. That's a big.
Yeah, that's wrong. You have to remember. Now, we're going to take. And I know we're not in China, or we're not in Belgium, or we're not in Portugal, or we're not in Germany. They like to purchase pigeons that are 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. They do not mind that at all. They like to see a fully developed pigeon. They prefer it. When I go to Europe and I ask them for young pigeons, they look at me like, "What? We don't got to keep these things another 2 or 3 years?" I go, "No, Oh, because all of our customers, they want the pigeons here to fully develop." Yeah. And you know, so please, I know you've got this in your head where you think they're dumping birds off. You go and handle the birds and you look at the pedigrees. And you make your assessment then. I wouldn't say they're dumping anything off.
You know, I think the whole they're dumping them off, that is what other guys tell you to discourage you from buying the pigeons because they probably can't afford them themselves. So they tell you these crazy stories to deter you from buying them. Remember, this is all about competition. Remember that. And not everything everybody tells you is on the up and up. Sometimes guys tell you things because they don't want to see you get better or they don't want to see you beat them next year. So they will tell you these things just to get you off your game. So I'm not saying it happens all the time, but I'm saying I've heard people try and deter other people, and I think a lot of it has to do with they don't want to see you have that pigeon in your loft because you just might beat them next year.
Right. Yeah. And I've seen, you know, and it is sad. We have a couple older gentlemen, you know, that come to our showroom, and they'll say to me, "I want lot 3, and I'm going to phone you for lot 3." And I said, "Okay, yeah, no problem." And I'm an eavesdropper because it's my, you know, our showroom, and I'm listening. And another newbie will take lot 3 to this old guy and hand it to him and say, "Oh, I like this pigeon. What do you think?" And he'll go,
piece of shit.
That's a piece of shit. Because he knows if he likes it, the new guy gets confident and say, "Well, I'm going to bid on that bird." Now the old guy has to pay more for the bird. So you have to remember, this is competition. This is, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that bird. I'm going to do whatever it takes to beat you. And I'll tell you everything right, but I won't tell you everything. I won't really tell you anything. I'll get you going in a circle.
You just got to watch. I remember years ago when I was just a young boy, I had a reputable pigeon fancier come over.
Yeah.
Right? And we had discussion. He said, every pigeon in your loft that has a closed slit on the top of his mouth, he says, you only want the ones which are open. And when he left, I walked out I eliminated every bird with a closed slit.
Oh boy.
And guess what? He strung me a pile of shit.
You string you a pile of
Okay,
shit.
right.
Now we
The
don't.
wrong pile of shit.
Right. And now you look at all your 300-mile pigeons, all the pigeons that can go week in, week out and give you the shot. The slit's always shut, the throat's always still and tucked back in, and they're perfect.
The slit's open. He's got trouble breathing.
Right.
That's right.
And he can't do the work.
He can't do the work. But this guy told me any bird with a closed slit, go out and knock it off. So actually, I was a young boy. Knocked off all the best pigeons.
Yeah, all your better ones.
There you go. This is Loft Manager Richard telling you stories of when he wasn't quite as experienced as he is now, and he fell into the trap of listening maybe to the wrong person perhaps, and look at what that led to. So even though we do say you need to talk to the older guys, you need to pick their brains, you also got to watch who you're talking to, and really you kind of got to get a feel for what these people's intentions are, right? I mean, Ryan and Richard will never steer you wrong, but I guess there's some out there that will. Anyway, let's just get to we had a question here from Brian Mansker before I forget. And then I'm going to get everybody else's comments. Just give me a second. Now I can't forget. Damn it. Hold on.
You're slipping, Leah. You're slipping.
Oh, here we go. Brian Mansker. How do you change the feed and supplements for breeding? Great question.
How do you change it? Well, I think, it was kind of funny. And I want you people to, when we're done here today, I want you to go on to Feathers Elite Pigeon Auctions, and there's a Mark Caldwell auction. And I want you to go, and there's a video there, not of Mark Caldwell, it's a Staff Van Riet video.
Yes.
It's by David Allen or something, I believe the name is. And he talks to Staff Van Riet, and he kind of goes through it. And Staff Van Riet, again, was a man who fed very cheap feed. He did a little adjustments here, a little adjustments there, but he was always the cheapest corn, the cheapest mix. The water was always clear, clean water. He didn't pump drugs into the birds. He left his loft a certain way. He would always bring birds in to cross with his family. But it was very, very simple. What's a good diet mix? Your race mix is a great mix for the winter. Hey, cut it back with a little bit of DePure or barley. Lighten the mix up for your birds. Remember, you want to give them grits and minerals. You still want to put the hemp oil or the Burge yeast on the feed a little bit. Treat it up that way. But keep the weight down. Lower, keep the weight low. And it's a great time to go in there and feed your birds and sit with your birds and have your birds climb on you. Keep the weight down on them. And that's a good time to, hey, I have a trouble getting my birds to eat peas. That's a good time. Practice teaching your stock birds, eat some peas. Play with the feeding a bit. Keep the birds so the body weight is nice. Remember, clean water is good. If you're not bringing a lot of birds in, you don't have to medicate. Keep them nice, clean water.
Soon a couple go for a drink of water, stop feeding, take the feed away, stop feeding. Soon you see a bird on the floor, and he's on there. Everybody's eating, but he's over there, or two of them are over there flapping their wings and exercising. Guess what? Feeding's over.
And for people that use feeders, that doesn't work this way. When we say a couple birds go for a drink of water, that's because we feed by the handful. 30 birds come down and I throw 3 or 4 fistfuls. Boom, boom, boom. The group's eating, and I'm, taking our time. We're having family meal. They're eating good. Okay, everybody's eating, and then they look up at me, and I go, okay, another 3 handfuls. Boom, boom, boom. They're eating good. Then I go 2 handfuls. And then all of a sudden, one goes up and gets a drink. And I know at this point, the feeding time in the winter is coming to an end. A little bit slower, maybe another fistful, another one goes for a drink, you're pretty much done.
In the winter, they're only sitting around watching TV.
Yeah, they're on the couch. And the more weight you put on them in the winter, the harder it is to get them. Guys, think about it. Imagine being in super condition, going into the winter time, and putting 40 pounds on. And then in the springtime, having to lose the 40 pounds and go back to work. Pretty hard, Elia.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is hard. But we're certainly not saying in the wintertime to starve your pigeons. If anything, and what we have heard and what we've heard from the Europeans, Ryan, is it's, you know, it's the time, the winter time is the time that you give them all the good nutrients and the breeders, all the good stuff. It's not a time to just park them and forget about them, because breeding season is a very important time of the year. It is, you're setting the stage for your race season. And you want to make sure that your breeders are in absolute super health. Right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's right. And you know, when I say feed barley, that doesn't mean that's a cheap, bad feed. It's a great feed. Barley's a super feed. It helps keep them lighter. You know, you'll always see when you feed with barley, even if you have 20% barley in your mix or 15 or 10% barley, and you feed by the fistful, when they start also to leave barley on the floor, you see them, they look up at you like, hey, come on, give me some more feed. And you say, well, look, there's 25 pieces of barley. We're not hungry anymore. Because, hey, just like when you were a kid, you'll eat the fried chicken, you'll eat the mashed potatoes, but you won't eat those green peas, will you? So, but you'll eat another piece of fried chicken.
If I feel a little sorry for them, I'll throw them, they're finished eating, and they're looking at me.
Yeah.
I'll throw them just a handful of straight barley. And
right. And again, go on and watch that Staff Van Reet video and watch how the man races the pigeons. His simple formula, very simple, no smoke, no mirrors, and you can see it's genuine.
Sorry, excuse me. I think someone's continually calling your phone because it keeps cutting out, so I have to keep jumping back and forth to cameras. I'm just letting you know. Brian wants to know, would you give all-in-one grit each day in the wintertime?
No, I give it about 2 to 3 times per week. And you know, they say all-in-one grit, it's a teaspoon per pigeon. So, you know, you can start off, go 4 days without it. Take it away. Go in there and say you got 20 pigeons, give them however many teaspoons. Okay? Give them, you know, 20 teaspoons and see how much they eat of it. And go, boy, they haven't had it for 4 days, and I measured out, geez, I wasted 6 teaspoons. So you sort of judge, right? You can give it to them every day, but you don't have to give very much. It's very little. It's a great product. It works great. Just, you know, like I said, 2-3 times a week, give it to them fresh. Don't give them more than they need. Give them enough. They'll go in there. It'll be happy hour time like they went to the bar.
Your pigeons must know when you give it. In other words, thanks for giving it. Thank you. They appreciate you. The pigeons appreciate you when you put it out by the handful or by the teaspoon.
Right.
Right. If you just dump it in a tray and walk away, right?
Are you adjusting?
I'm gonna go adjust it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it just.
You got something wrong?
Yeah, that camera.
We're just gonna have to do this camera angle here for a minute, guys. Okay, let me get to. Robert Daughtry says it's getting cold where he is, and they love the reindeer corn. Dad, you would say reindeer corn's a good thing to feed in the winter, yes or no?
Yeah, you can give a certain percent, maybe 20%.
Troy 20%. Says in Europe they don't have the kind of harsh winter like North America, so the Europeans can feed differently. They don't have the harsh winter, but they do have extreme dampness there. So it's a different kind of cold. It's a damp cold there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess they do have to feed differently. Do they feed differently in Europe in the winter months, Dad? You've been out there in the winter. Have you noticed?
Well, I've been there in February, and I mean the grass. Their winters are not as long as ours. They're not. The grass is already starting to grow, and you know they got by March they already got youngsters that they're putting out on the board, like youngsters that are about 35 days old. So it's like here our water freezes. Now I'm getting something's going on with the sound.
That's good.
Here our water freezes, but their water doesn't freeze. In, let's say, Belgium, Holland, those 2 countries, the water doesn't freeze. Here, the water freezes right in January, February. It freezes solid. 20 minutes, it'll start to freeze.
Now, what about water? How much water are you giving them in the winter, and how often are you changing it?
Well, I don't have my birds together, so in the wintertime when I feed them in the morning, usually before noon, they get their feed and they get their water, and that's it. I don't go back out in the afternoon and give them water. If they are lucky, you get a bit of snow flying in there, they can pick on the snow. But I only give them water once a day. But soon they get young ones, it has to be at least twice a day or 3 times a day. Make sure they have water.
Dave Tracy says, make sure to give them greens in the winter also. I give mine a head of lettuce usually once a week. I know you guys give greens all the time, right?
Yeah, greens are good. Remember, even in this time of year here in our area, if you want, still right now the ground is not frozen. You can still turn over a piece of sod. The birds will go into it in the aviary. They'll play in it. They'll eat in it. They'll dig in it a little bit. They like that. Kale is great. Lettuce is great. Onions. People grind up carrots. And I always say what's nice is if you wet it a little bit and sprinkle, crack a bit of salt on it. The birds love that too. Greens are good. I agree with the greens. You just don't have to go overboard.
My birds in the wintertime, lots of times they'll skip a day's feed.
Yeah.
That's it. I call it a snow day. Because they're too heavy. I skip one day. Look at the plugs. If it's snowing and we get a foot and a half of snow, they don't eat for 2 days. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
They gotta, right. So your bird's just sitting around, right?
Well, he's occupying a perch. He's done all the molting. All he's going to do is going to put on weight. And I'll tell you, you see pigeons in the wintertime, we can get them fat on barley.
We spoke with, he's passed away now. What's his name there? Can't remember I know his name, but I can't remember.
Well, when you think about it.
Anyways, but he's top-notch flyer. Mm-hmm. And he said, getting ready for breeding, most cases, your birds don't need feed and water for 5 days. That was what's his name?
No.
I'm not telling people to do this, but this is how out of shape our pigeons are in the wintertime, getting in the wintertime out of shape. And now if you take a look at life, the geese fly somewhere south, the red-winged blackbirds fly south. The little finches, some finches, they go, all these things, they fly south, and the grackles and stuff. And Mother Nature makes them fly back here to have a nest, okay? The turkey vultures, they fly back from the south. And when they're flying back, maybe they got to fly 1,000 miles. I don't know how far. They're flying in headwinds. They're flying in rain. They
get into condition to have a nest.
Mother Nature makes them get in condition. Those birds fly, and they don't find feed for a day because they're flying from who knows, Georgia, South Carolina.
Right. Mother Nature conditions it to do that. And who you were talking about was Chris Peeman. And Chris Peeman, that's right. Chris Peeman had said this was his trick because he said I was a bit of a heavy feeder. Mm-hmm. This was his trick, not ours. And I don't know how true it was, but this is what he said. He would book a trip to go to Holland for a week. He would feed his birds the day before he left, feed and water, and he'd pull all the feed and water out after that day. And he would shut the loft and come back a week later. No feed, no water for 1 week.
Now, before you guys come for us, we're not suggesting anybody do this, okay?
I don't do that.
In,
we don't.
We're not recommending you do this.
But he has a very right idea. And pigeons are like humans. If they're sitting around, they really like to eat. And they'll eat, and they'll eat, and they'll eat, and they'll eat. And we almost have to be like, when you're in the hospital, they give you that food that's just a little thing on a little piece of plate.
It's gross.
And you're going, holy mackerel. Like, they don't give you white bread.
They give you whole wheat. They don't give you salt and pepper. They don't give you nothing that you want.
Salt and pepper. Yeah.
No fried chicken, nothing. Nothing good.
And that's really the way humans should live.
Probably.
Right? You don't get potato chips.
Right.
You don't. So you don't get fatty pork chops.
So that was an interesting thing that Chris Peeman had said. Now, in the same token, I was down at the Texas Shootout many years after that, and I talked to the English syndicate that was there, and they've been going for years, and they had said they grate their late breds. They breed a round of late breds, and their grading was the same thing. We go away for a week with no food, no water, and we go back in, and we want to handle the pigeons that fell off. We want to handle the pigeons that stayed their weight. We want to see the pigeons that shriveled up. They had the same idea, and they were grading their late breds on this, of which late breds they wanted to keep. And I said, oh yeah. And they said, yeah, the late bred that holds his body in perfect form, he's got everything right. The ones that are shriveled up and they're not the same, we don't want them. So another way.
Okay, so Robert Daughtry has a question about water, and then Henry has a question about vaccines. So just a yes or no response to Robert's question. Robert's asking, do you pull the water after they eat, then drink for the rest of the day?
No, I don't pull the water. I leave it there and I let it freeze. Then the next day I go defrost, dunk it in hot water.
No, we leave the water.
I leave the water
until it freezes, and then the next day they get fresh water.
Okay. Henry says, vaccines. Do you vaccinate for PMV, the bird, every year, or do you vaccinate only young birds and it's good for life?
You should boost them once a year.
Yeah, I think give them every year. I think every year is good. The old birds every year. I like to give the young birds multiple shots, and then just do the old birds once a year.
But they should be done every year, once a year, correct?
Every year, yeah.
And the young birds, boost. The youngsters,
you're doing youngsters get twice, done right? Twice, yeah.
Twice. And if you're using combo vaccines, then that's even better, because sometimes your bird's going to get maybe PNV'd 3 times. Or salmonella twice, or adenoed once, things like that.
Okay, so as youngsters, twice, minimum twice. As old birds, once a year. Hopefully that helps, Henry.
Yep.
Okay. What else? What else did we want to talk about, Ryan?
Oh, did we want to talk about our club, what we were talking about earlier today with Sue?
Oh, right. Okay, so as you guys know, we are banned from the Canadian Racing Pigeon Union, and we've been blackballed from the ARPU. But we had a nice chat with Sue and Kevin Williams from the IF today. If anybody doesn't know who the IF is, they are the International Federation of Pigeon Racing, I believe. And they are a forward-thinking organization who said that they would be happy to recognize our club and to take our members on. So we will not be without registered bands, and our club will be recognized by the IF. And what does that mean for our club members, Ryan? Because we have heard through the grapevine, unfortunately, that there were some of our members that were trying to get CU bands, and the Canadian Racing Pigeon Union told them, what club do you fly in? And when the individual said the Pioneer Club, then the Canadian Racing Pigeon Union, who was supposed to be out there to promote this sport, told them, I'm sorry, if you're part of the Pioneer Club, we can't sell bands to you because they're not a recognized CRPU club. So that is unfortunate for the CRPU, but we're going to fix that with the IF. The IF is going to take us on and take our members on, and you're going to be able to get bands. Hopefully Dad's got the cat situation straightened out there. But isn't that right, Ryan?
Yeah, that's right. We had a nice chat with them, and they like the work that we do. They seen us down there at the IF. And, all we want to do is give the Pioneer Club and the members where we can go get bands, and it's easy and it's fun, and that's it. I mean, this is pigeon racing, and if we're going to grow the sport, we got to, I think, bury the hatchet a little bit. Let's keep going in the forward direction for all clubs. And, it's kind of funny. We had people that sent us birds, the CPFA bands, the Canadian Fancy Pigeon Association. I don't even know if those are bands that you could race with. But here at Pioneer, we accept them so the guys could fly. What are we going to do? Turn your back off? Oh, no. You know what? The sport's not doing good as it is. We better try and keep all the members. And you know what? I'm happy that the IF has taken us on. And you know what? We're going to go onwards and upwards, and it's positive, and that's great.
Now, what does that mean for our club members? It is $30 to join the IF. $30 Canadian to join the IF. Their bands are, how much are the bands, Ryan?
The bands are 60 cents each. So I've already have.
Is that American?
I've already had orders. We've ordered about 300 bands, so it's going to be. We're going to have quite a big order.
Perfect. Okay, so guys, if you're looking for bands, the IF, you're going to be able to get bands through the IF. And it's $30 membership, and we will take care of getting the bands. You just order them through us. We're going to place the order through the IF, and we'll have the bands by the 1st of January. That's what Sue said, correct?
Yes, that is what she said. So we're going to go this way, and thank you. Thank you to the IF.
Yes, thank you to the IF. Absolutely. Okay, anything else, Ryan?
No, I'm thinking, is there anything else we wanted to mention? No, hey, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah,
it's not always about what we have. You guys make the show, eh?
So there's a 30-second
I got a couple words to say.
Well, we got to wait. And, again, this is another, hey, took the birds training. They're coming late today. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to come up with something else. What should we come up with? Do you know? Do you have any ideas? Mike Sheridan, what do you think? Mike Vandriak, what do you think?
What are you asking me?
I don't know. We're in a kerfluffle. We don't have anything to talk about.
Oh, I want to say something.
Go ahead.
I want to congratulate you on your 10th year of One Loft Racing. Your 10th anniversary. I want to congratulate you on that.
Oh, geez, you have notes there. Jeez.
Yeah, I have notes right here. Look, folks, I got the note. I got another thing to say is,
we got to show
guys,
birds.
when you want to buy birds or get birds, don't buy the crap. Don't go to the Woodstock racetrack when they have a buy, sell, and trade, or Mount Forest buy, sell, and trade, and say you're going to buy some birds there. You're going to race those birds. They're crap. They're garbage. And if you know a good flyer is winning a lot of combines and he wins a lot of money, he's been flying for years, you tell him you want to buy his best bird, very best bird that year. You want to buy that. Not that shit that he's going to sell you for $25 or $50. You ask him, is that all your birds are worth? $50? I know a guy that said a weasel got in and killed his most expensive birds. He paid $35 a piece. I laughed at him. That's crap. Anybody that sells you a bird for $50, you might as well give it to you, because it's crap. It's garbage. You're not going anywhere better. If you don't think it's garbage, phone Buddy up that wanted to sell you that crap. Call him up and say, hey, bud, I got 10 pigeons here that I don't really want. I'm going to give them to you. And if he's a good flyer, you know what he'll tell you? I don't want them. Why? I don't want them. Why?
They're crap.
Because they're crap. So don't get led into this racing pigeon keeper stage. That's what I call pigeon keepers. Hey, guess what? Why should I spend $200 from you or $500? I got an old guy up in Sudbury that's going to give me 15. And guess what? I know another guy. He's had him 40 years down in London. He's going to give me another 20. And that guy's going to give me 5. By the end of it, you're nothing but a pigeon keeper. Your pigeon just, that's it.
And another thing, interesting thing. We had a gentleman that bought a pigeon from a guy, and the guy flew widowhood, and his cockbirds were very, very dominant. So anybody that knows what widowhood means, it means you're flying cockbirds. Okay? He took the bird home. He bred the bird. The bird would cause havoc in his loft. He would chase other hens. He owned the floor. He did everything. He bred him good young birds. He only got a couple young birds out of him, but he bred good young birds. And what did he do? He killed that pigeon because he said he creates havoc in the loft. He's hyper. He's a thoroughbred. He wants to go. He wants to dominate the section. I like that in a pigeon. I like it. And what did this new guy do? He killed it. And you know what he said? Well, I got some pigeons. They didn't come so good, but they're very tame in the loft. They're very nice. Well, I kept those ones to give them another shot. You know, I watched the guys doing horseshoes. Brian, if you're listening, and I asked him, I said, I like watching horseshoeing, eh? I like it on the computer.
Oh, yeah.
It's mesmerizing. It's great. And Brian, he was there on the weekend, Leah. I said, well, do you do the thoroughbreds? He says, oh, hell no, I won't go in there with the thoroughbreds. They'll kill you. He says, they're hyper. They're high strung. Well, I like to do the show jumping horses that are calm and relaxed.
Right.
What do you want? A racing pigeon? Racing pigeon thoroughbred. Or do you want a bird that comes an hour and a half late? And I'm not saying all good birds are hyper and wild. They're not. But you know what? In that family and what the man described, I understood it. And it was just the cockbird was dominating the room. He was the king of the whole loft. And you know what you did, sir? Your unexperience. You put him in the ground for no reason. Because you know what? You should have never had that type of pigeon because you're not ready for it and you couldn't see it. And that's called pigeon fingers. Pigeon fingers. Pigeon knowledge. And when you've taken care of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pigeons, you start to see these things. And you start to understand. Back to you, Leah.
Speaking of experience, we have Alfred in the house from Combe Van Zorn. If anybody's got experience, it is Alfred and his father, that's for sure. Henry has a question and Brian has a question. Henry, were you going to talk about the old bird season? Yes, we are going to talk about the old bird season. I was going to do up a flyer today for it. We could show everybody, but my laptop decided to crap out, so I wasn't able to do that. Maybe we're going to talk about the old bird season on next week's show, Ryan, when my laptop.
Yeah, we'll do it next weekend. We'll devote that to that old bird series that we're going to do. We'll give a show for it.
But we are doing an old bird season, a modified old bird season. I think we're going to call it like the Pioneer Old Bird Open or something along those lines. And we'll talk about that on next week's show. So it is happening. Once I'm able to do the flyer, then we'll talk about it on next week's show. Brian Mansker says, Ryan, will you send any birds to One Loft races next year?
Yeah, I'm going to, well, again, everything depends on how the COVID situation is for crossing borders and stuff like that. But there is a few that I would like to send to, even if it's only one or two birds. But again, you have to see. I have to see.
I don't send any to any Canadian races.
Well, you're not interested in the Canadian races. I'm interested in.
I have my reasons,
right? And I have the races. I like the American races. There's two or three that I enjoy, that I like the work that they do, and that's it. And you know what? I'd love to be able to play here in the Pioneer One Loft because I know how it's done. So,
but we can't. Okay, Mike Vandriak says a harmonious loft is important when flying classical widowhood.
Harmonious. That's a $64 word for me. That's what they used to say in school. It's a $64 word. But that was some years ago, so now it's probably a $184 word.
Yeah, harmonious is
like he likes to hear the music.
Yeah, no, he's saying he likes all the kids in the class. You know what? He likes to say that all the kids get along, but I'm going to tell you, you look at, and I can use certain teams, like you go back to Manchester United when they had Roy Keane. He didn't give a shit about harmonious. He looked at Ronaldo when he first came in, and he said, "Boy, you're going to bounce the ball as good as you do, but when it's time to do it, you better do it." And he gave him the look, and the look of God went right into Ronaldo. And you know what? Ronaldo picked it up and played with them and did it. And a player like Roy Keane, he kept the harmony, but he was vicious. And you know what? You need a little viciousness. And widowhood, viciousness, I think is a big key. But what do I know?
And these Van Riets, they are built on widowhood system. Over the years, they the cocks become very aggressive.
It's the same thing with those kibble birds.
This fella here that knocked this bird off, he says, and you know what, the son of a gun? He always picked the top perch. And he said, that just drove me nuts. He always picked the top perch. And any pigeon man that knows, you got a pigeon that always picks the top perch or top nest box, that's a pigeon that shows a sign.
That's right.
Right?
I always like the birds that go to the top. I like a bird that owns the floor. A cockbird that wants to make his nest on the floor, and he likes to own the whole floor because that's his box. But anyways.
Okay, going
That's
to get
what
to
we
the
like.
questions here. Frank Icorn, are the calendars in yet? Yes, they are.
Oh.
Ryan, you have the calendars there?
Yeah, Dad, go grab me the calendar right there, please.
Is that the calendar with
Yeah.
just me going up and down to the Twisted Sister? That's the one?
Ricky.
12 months of Ricky going up the quick
Twisted.
Okay, can you go get the
Twisted.
new calendar, please, so we can show
Okay,
everybody?
Sally.
Thanks.
You gotta watch it.
Mike Vandriak, good topics for old bird racing are comparing nest to double widowhood to classical widowhood racing.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that in one of our shows, Ryan. Make sure you mark that down. David Tracy, what are your favorites in one loft races in the USA, Ryan? Oh, you better watch what you say here, Ryan.
You know what? I'm gonna stick. Well, it's close enough. I don't know.
Can you please get the 2022 calendars that you picked
Hold
up
on.
Wednesday?
Birds are gone. They're gone for a ramble. I think I lost them. Ricky, find those calendars. By the time you get that calendar, those birds will be back here. Let's go.
Well, I hate to ask you this, but I asked you to have the calendars before we went on live. So before you want to center me out, maybe you should center yourself out. Moving on.
This is what I'm saying.
Zorin, do you already know how the corona is going? Can the pigeons already cross the border? So Ryan's going to the USA next week to ship auction birds. As far as European birds coming into Canada, it's not a corona issue. We'll just be honest about it. We have imported pigeons for the last 6 years from the Netherlands and from Poland without an issue because our paperwork is always 100% correct. Now we have new people doing importing because they think it's oh so easy. And what have they done? They've FUCKED it for all of us. And the Canadian government has now put a halt on all imports from Europe because certain individuals here think it's so easy to import and don't have their paperwork correctly, and now the government has clamped down. What does that mean for us? That means all of our European imports for all of our auctions are right now on hold until we can get it straightened out with the government, which Ryan, myself, and Frank Nabig from Animals to Fly are working on feverishly to see if we can get the birds here in time for a part 2 of auction season. So if you guys want to know the truth and why there haven't been a whole lot of Europeans, that's the reason why. It has put a screw in it for us and for everybody else. So we can thank those individuals who have done it. Anyway, moving on. We're working on it. What are your favorite one-loft races, Ryan?
Favorite one-loft race, I'm going to go with the California Classic. I'm going to go with the Royal Cup. Both are run by John Timmerman. I'm going to go with also the Holiday Cup. And then I think once I get past that, there's some other ones that are okay. My only drawback with them, and I'm not going to center them out or not any names, is I look at some of the reasons on why they hold the birds. Like they say it was too much wind, or they really sugarcoat it because deep down, too much wind, or the sky is overcast, and and other things, or you can see that they're waiting for a nice shot, clear open shot, sky and tailwinds. And I just think the quality of the birds you're going to start to see it really diminish. And you're seeing that, you're starting to see that now when the birds hit the speeds under 1,200, the birds just don't come home. They don't, the trainers aren't training them. And I understand why they're not training them, because any one-loft race that takes 1,000 birds in and they get paid $100 US a bird, they make $100,000 to take care of your pigeons and give them 30 tosses, 20 tosses, 15 tosses. They're not out there to beat combine flyers. And getting back to Pioneer One Loft, I had people say to me, "You lost a lot of birds, Ryan." you're right. Ryan lost a lot of birds. I did. I lost a lot of pigeons. But I did win 6 of our combine races. We had a second champion bird. We were up there in the champion average speed against everybody. We were there, and I lost a lot of birds. And you know what? It was a rough year. It was a rough year. But I had to work the birds to a level to get them to do that. If I would do what other one loft races do, and there's a whole group of other one loft races that I like, but I see what the trainer does because he has to guarantee his 100 or 150,000 for next year. He has to guarantee that. He has to get that back in his pocket. And I'm just, I don't want to do it.
Well, right. And my question to you is, we did lose a lot of birds, but you did just say your results. You won 6 out of the 9. You were champion ace bird, whatever it was. Could you imagine if you didn't work them that hard and you were at the bottom every single week? Meaning every single week we would do the show and we would wait for birds, and the Pioneer Loft, everybody else would get birds, but we would be sitting there for hours and hours and not getting birds. What would they have said to you then?
And that's right. And I can give you, Brian, you pick out some good races, and I will follow that man's training method. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to be nowhere here in the Pioneer Combine this year. I'll be dead. I'll be right down at the back. And I can already tell you that. But these guys, they get a lot of birds to the final race. And if they pick the right day, they get the birds home pretty good.
What do you mean right day? Tailwind?
Tailwind's easy days. Tailwind's
tailwind.
easy days. Tailwind's easy days. I've watched people say the winds are going to be strong. They got like 10-mile-an-hour crosswinds or 5-mile-an-hour headwinds. They stop. And I go, I'm just not sending birds to these races. I'm not interested in doing it.
Well, a lot of these one loft races, they just say, I took in 1,000 birds and I got 900 to the first race. They didn't do anything.
They don't do very much.
But they make people feel like, guess what? My bird's still in there. And a certain amount of birds go.
Look, you know what? I have a top flyer in Ireland. And we're going to do something with him where we want to go into one loft races together. And he said to me, Ryan, you tell me the races and we'll go in them. I am going to come down. I want you to fly down. We're going to go meet the owner of the race. He says, I want to talk with him. I wanted to see what he's all about. And I've already vouched for the guy. But this is what he is. He's a national winner. And he says, I just want to talk pigeons with the guy. I want to see the setup. I want to see the lofts. I want to see this, see that. I want to do my analyzation. I want to see the man's one loft track record, the speeds, the this, the that. Because you know what he said to me? 95% of all the one loft races in the world are shite.
Well, I know a fella, he passed away now, and he said to me one day, every one loft race is a crook.
That's right.
A crook. Okay? That's 100%. They all got, grandma lives on the other side of those trees.
Right. And that's right. Yeah. And grandma can mean a lot of things. They don't train the birds. They don't work the birds, or they pick all tailwind days. That's what we mean by grandma. They candy coat it, sugar coat it, feel good it. And you know what you're doing? Bringing those birds home and breeding out of them? You're ruining your breeding stock.
So I think the moral of the story, what Ryan's trying to get across, is there's just a lot of one loft races out there that don't appeal to him because of the way that the birds are worked or trained or whatever. And this is another reminder for those of you considering getting into the Pioneer one loft, whether it's in Ryan's loft or in Richard's loft, know this, and please keep repeating this to yourselves. Ryan and Richard are out to win. They're out to win every week. They're out to get the maximum amount out of your pigeons. If that's not something that you can handle, this is not the race for you. We say this year after year, and it seems that every year we get a few people who think, oh yeah, I'm ready for it, and then they come, and then we have all types of problems with them. There's going to be no babying this next coming year at all. They're going to work them the same way they've always worked them. And we're not going to listen to nit or nat or whatever. Know what you're getting into before you send your birds here. The birds are tried, the birds are tested, the birds are worked, because these two guys want to be first. This is their job now. like a pigeon boss. Do you know what I mean? This is their job.
Right.
Your
Hey,
birds will be tried, tested, and worked.
If you want to run a racehorse, make sure you get on them and ride them. Make sure that horse can work. You folks seen last year, I was training at the racetrack up here, right? Remember the racetrack?
Yeah.
The man had a pickup truck with a cage in the back of it, and he had the horse hooked up to the cage.
He was taking.
And he was on the pickup truck going around and around and around the track. And the horse was sweating.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. You can't take Ronaldo. Don't sit in the couch, eh?
No, and you know, getting back to it, I've had a guy that people put money in their pocket and they say, well, this year I'm going to handle birds and do it this way in his own. And then he's in another part of Canada, and I put this guy in the money a few times. He's won good amounts of money. And, you know, I don't know if he's coming in this year. Kind of got that feeling, right? Last year was a tough year. So I'm going to send him birds.
Tough for everybody.
Tougher, but I'm going to send him birds. Because the way I look at it is, I got you in the money. You're going to fly in your club and combine. I'll give you my birds with whatever bands you want on. You want $1,000 bands? I put them on. Now show me that you can get my birds in the money on your system. That's what I expect. So that's one I'm going to be flying in. Because I want to get some birds in the money that I don't have to do the work, and I want to sit back, and I want to watch the show.
Let me get to the comments here. Michael Peevler says, one Loft races sugarcoat the training at the start. That is why they have heavy losses at the end of it. Lack of different weather training. And Combe Van Zoren, Alfred, let's get a European's perspective on the whole one Loft thing. He says, and he's a very, very national winner, good flyer in the Netherlands, guys, okay? He knows what he's talking about. All one Loft races are just stupid. It makes them come home, has nothing to do with good pigeons at all. So Alfred's watching from the outside and looking in, and he sees it, that there's just not a lot, not all of the one Loft races, but there's certain ones out there, I'd say the majority, where the birds are not worked. And I think that Michael Peevler and Alfred, they're 100% right on that.
Yeah.
Mike Vandriak, the hybrid model where the one Loft birds are liberated with the combine for the full race season is the best model I've ever seen. Makes the other races obsolete. Well, that's right, because it makes the Loft managers accountable. Every single week they have to have their birds ready. It's not about nice days or sunny days or tailwinds. We go when everybody else goes. It's holding the Loft managers accountable and having to stick on a schedule to show you what your birds can do in 8 or 9 weeks of continuous racing. That was the whole point behind when we decided to develop this type of a one Loft race. Ryan did the other type. That's why Loft manager Richard said it's Ryan's 10-year one Loft racing anniversary. Ryan, did you do a one Loft race before where you had thousands of pigeons? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Not 1 year, not 2 years. How many years did you run the trifecta? 4 years? 3-4 years?
Almost 5 years. 5 years. 5 or 6 years. I ran it. I ran it when we had 800 birds, 900 birds. I ran it when we had 100 birds. You know, and you want to know what? It was. It wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't what it. No. It wasn't like this. This here is flying. This to me is flying. And you know, when I sit here and I look across, and then we had Tony Elvis on, and he's going to be in our Pioneer Combine. And I look at him and I say, you don't think you're actually going to beat me. What I'm telling him is I'm going to take one Loft birds and I'm going to come at you with your own family, and I'm going to show you that these outside birds can do some damage. And nobody does that. But I can do it. Well, and I think that's a pigeon, man. You know, we're not flying with our own birds, your whole loft, where you know, hey, out of that pair, they breed good ones, and my whole family's producing good ones, and there are those guys out there. No. What we say is we have to take all these different kids and make them all work as a team. And some can do it, and some can't. And that's my job. And what holds me accountable is flying against other people. And I am not going to come dead last. I might get beat, but I will not be dead last. I will not be made a joke of. No matter, and if I say this year, if I have 2 birds left again, I will do it. I will compete right to the end. Ask a guy like Ian Sybil.
He's got great.
He got great birds.
Good
He's
stock
flown.
pigeons.
He's
Yeah.
good stock pigeons. He's given me his best. He stays out of the way, and guess what? The pigeons perform.
What do you have at the end? He put 4 in, had about 3 left.
2.
2.
Back to you, Leah.
Mark Bombach has written a very nice long post here, which I'm going to read. Ryan, the Kuipers, I'm probably saying that wrong, brothers from Holland would lock up their Barcelona team after the molt for 7 days and never enter the loft. No food, no water, other than when they locked the loft after the 7th day, they would enter and remove the birds that couldn't hold a body anymore. They believed in this to select their team for the strenuous Barcelona, absolute famous long-distance flyers.
I believe it.
Hold on.
What about the fella that wins he's winning in Africa for quite a few years, Dave Closing. He would take certain young ones that he wants to send, he's picking to send to Africa, and he would lock them in a dark box for a week. No food, no water.
I don't know.
And then he would see which one held his body.
Yeah.
Which one? I heard this story.
I don't know if I heard that one, but okay. But regardless of that, I've heard it from multiple people. We're not saying everyone does that. Some people do it. Some people will say that's crazy. Some people say you don't need to do it. Again, bake a chocolate cake and there's a gazillion recipes, and this is people's idea. But hey, thanks, Mark, for posting that in. You see, I'm not the only one that's heard this, and now we have 3 people.
It's a bit cruel, but racing is cruel.
Sure, life is cruel. It is cruel.
Yeah, forget about racing. Life is cruel. Exactly.
If a bird can't do it and he crashes down in the desert, he starves to death.
That's right.
Where would you rather,
Troy, are you planning to do an old bird and young bird for 2022 as you did this year, young bird and old birds together? So we're going to do an old bird open, a 3-race old bird open series.
Mm-hmm. And the basic gist of it is it's going to be a 20-bird team. You can mix and match your birds. It's going to be 3 races, a Matheson, a Hearst, and a Long Lac. So that's a 300-mile, basically a 400-mile, and a 500-mile-ish race course. It'll be raced every other week. It'll start in July. No, it'll start in June and go to July. We're going to have a buy-in. It's a 1-set buy-in, pay in once and play. And again, we're going to have open to all clocks. And I want to see us get to 50 teams is what I want to see.
Okay. I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But Troy didn't ask that question. He asked if we're going to have an old bird and young bird series starting when young birds start, where he can put old birds in with young birds. I believe that's what he asked.
No, instead of that, correct, we're doing the old bird open. Right?
So we're not going to have that.
No, we're not going to have that. But remember, on our transport, because we can hold the birdage, if there are guys that want to put old birds on to do their thing, they can pay to put them on, or late breds or whatever, and put them on and get their birds exercised or worked.
Race experience,
that's correct. Because you know what? We can open the doors here a little bit and let people still play with their birds. I think it's good.
So more details on our Pioneer Old Bird Open coming next week, or as soon as my laptop gets out of the repair center. So stay tuned for that. Robert Daughtry, I guess there is a fine line on training hard, and I will follow up that comment with a comment from Koen van Zoren from the Netherlands, and he says, fly for 22 weeks. What kind of end weather or whatever. There you get the best pigeons from 100 to 700 kilometers. That is my opinion, to keep super healthy for 22 weeks and keep the shape. So if we want to talk about training hard and going the distance,
there you go. I believe in that 100%.
A national winner, folks. A national winner from the
national winner. Wait, I'm going to say in this country, I'll say it again, out of 100 flyers, there's 10% that really put their nose to it to fly. And those guys work every day, and they're up on top. the other 90% that think and they make statements, okay? I'm sorry, but get your butt out of bed and get working, because you don't know what you're talking about.
But there you go.
That's
I mean, we talk here about, we had a tough season. We had 8 weeks of racing and whatever we did, 9 weeks of racing we had this year. There's a man that's looking at this and going, well, you're only halfway there, right? You're only halfway.
Yeah.
And that's great to see, because, you know, I already said to Leah this year, I'd like to extend it to go to 12 weeks. And, you know, maybe this year we're going to do 9. Maybe next year we're going to attempt to go to 12 weeks.
No.
And again, that doesn't mean, Alfred's not saying you're going 22 weeks of 300-mile or 500-kilometer racing. We're talking take them up, bring them down, go up again, bring them back down, go back and forth, and adjust and adjust and adjust. But give them the weeks. Remember, on the wing, the more experience they have, that's when you find the good ones. The good ones go on the road and they go to work.
No,
It's not one winner, you win a 100-mile race and this bird goes into stock, or, you know, and this is what we say. You see these one Loft race winners and people brag about them and all this stuff. What did you win? You just won money. You're grading your breeding program on 3 races where the man that's running the race, he has to feed his family. So he cannot lose your birds. He has to do everything in his power to get this shit done, so you all come back next year.
Let's put him in a tailwind.
Let's put him in a tailwind. Let's not go this week. We're going to wait for a week. We're going to wait for a month. We're going to wait until I know they'll come home. And you want to know what I call that? I am not going to dump my money into that. I'd rather go to the casino, and I've never played blackjack, and I will play there $1,000 and see how I do.
Hey, we had the first short race on the Saturday 2-3 weeks ago, and then we're going to go to the middle race, and it's a nice day on the Saturday, but the one Loft guy, he decides to do it on a Wednesday.
Well, sure.
Because everybody's at work.
Sure.
They're not there to see the race, and he looks at Wednesday is going to be a tailwind. I know all this shit.
And no one's going to be there to judge, so who knows where we've gone? We don't know where we've gone because there's nobody with us. There's no combines flying against us. So basically all we're doing, guys, is we're not testing our pigeons. It's sugar-coated, not my kind of racing. Anyways,
the one person said...
Let's get off it.
Wait
Let's just get off it.
The one person said...
Let Leah go, please.
No, let me finish. The one person said, maybe your training tactics are a little too severe. They may be a little too hard on the birds, and this and that.
Oh, every year I look at something and I
don't take. If I look at my pigeons, I watch how they act when I'm feeding. I watch when they come home from a training toss, and believe it, if one bird's sitting a little tired looking, I don't say get in the basket. We're going.
That's right.
Okay, there's something not right. I just don't go in there and herd all the birds in the basket. You're going every day. If he don't look right, he doesn't go. And I watch him by the next day. If he still doesn't look right, he still doesn't go. There's something wrong with him, right? The bird's got to be in good health.
We try and judge it, but again, the guys that we're flying with in our area, I know the type of work that goes into their birds, and I know one thing: if I do what I've seen a lot of the races do, you will not tune into the show, because it'll be a result train wreck.
Well, and I think that's another thing. People see us because we've put ourselves out there, because that's part of our gig, right? You join our One Loft, you see day in, day out exactly what happens to your pigeons. And sometimes that can be to our detriment, because people watch, analyze, and they're Monday morning quarterback and say, oh, he's training too hard, he's feeding too much, he shouldn't be giving them water out of the hose. I mean, we've had all kinds of critiques on the way in which we do things. But that's the great thing about our One Loft race, is you're actually able to see exactly every day what is happening to your birds, to the point where you can see their poop every day. Ryan does a poop inspection where he goes with the camera, and you can see, how are the birds pooping today? Are they watery? Are they green? You know, it's almost too much information sometimes, Ryan, I think. Now, we have some questions for Van Zorn, and I don't want to, because he commented on the 22 weeks of flying. Robert Daughtry says 22 weeks, only a few birds can do that. And then Van Zoren says that our Olympiad has flown everything as a young pigeon, but also as a yearling and an old pigeon. Mike Vandriak asks Van Zoren, out of curiosity, how many birds in your loft flew 22 weeks this year? And Alfred says 20 birds. Maybe we need to have Alfred on the show and he can do a little question and answer.
Guys, I'm going to tell you something about Alfred. I met him and I met his father, and they don't speak the very best English. But I'm going to tell you, they're pigeon masters. There will be, in a short time, within 5 or 6 years, their name will be household. Their pigeons will go to China for millions of dollars. This man is going to do it. Just, you know, the first episode of Happy Days, you guys didn't know how good it was going to be. It's going to be like that, or The Simpsons.
David Tracy, the last 2 years I have followed the way Ryan trains and have won all the combine awards 2 years straight. Average speed, champion loft, champion bird, and master loft. So it does work, and I thank you. Wow, that's awesome.
You know where you're going to see.
Awesome.
You know where you're going to see Alfred in a couple more years. You know when you take the bus in Holland, they have the advertisements on the bus. Or you know when you go to the bathroom, you go in the urinal, you stand there. Most of them say
Herbots.
There's beautiful girls on the corner.
Yeah. You're going to see Alfred and his dad.
You're going to see Alfred and his dad when you're having a pee.
Okay,
come and visit us.
We get it.
That was a good one.
But you remember, there's only one really good pigeon out of 1,000 pigeons. An excellent.
But guys, you have to understand something, and this was a fun thing. I went to Alfred's last time I was there, and we talked about the kittle pigeons. And he went to a place where we went to, and I'm not going to name that guy's name. And we didn't like the kittle pigeons, and he had some super ones. Mm-hmm. And Alfred said to me, yeah, my dad and I went there. Big money pigeons, and we didn't like them. But now he's got some kittles, and he says, Ryan, I got the right kittles. These are the good ones, right? He's happy about them. And it's interesting to see how he works with his pigeons. His pigeons in his loft do what he asks. If they look twice the wrong way, they're not there anymore. He's very strict. He's very respectful. He takes care of the pigeons. Hey, his son and daughter are in the loft with him. He allows them in. You see it on the video. He's loose. They're relaxed, and they love the pigeons, but they listen to the pigeons. And again, when you hear something like this, when we were flying the Chateau race where he was a national winner, he won the whole damn thing. Do you want to know how good his pigeon fingers were? They could feel the hen that won when they basketed her. She was so sexually motivated, she was starting to lather and sweat. And they could feel it in the pigeon's skin, in the feathers. You could feel she was hot. She was fired up to go. That's the fingers. Back to you, Leah.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so that wraps that up. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Well, one more thing. We are going to, every year we train a certain way. We're going to do an adjustment this year on our training. Me and Richard have already talked of a few things that we want to adjust for our one loft in training. We have a different idea. It's still going to be a good, tough training. We're not going to lack, but we're going to make an adjustment. So there's a few small adjustments that we are going to make. And you'll have to come and fly with us to see.
Neil Gonzalez says, through careful observation of the birds, a good fancier can pick out the birds in the loft that are a step above the rest. Day in, day out, they showcase their special qualities. Most of the other birds are just company. And I think that's exactly a great way to put it, Neil. I know sometimes Ryan doesn't come across as eloquently when he says, oh, you know, half of them are dummies, which is probably not the right way to say it. But you're right. In a loft of 200 birds or 250 birds, do you guys honestly think that they're all superstars? Like, honest to God, it just doesn't work that way. It's like, you know, in a group of singers, there's really only a handful that can really hit those high notes. And that's just the way life goes, right?
Hey, go look at the U.S. military there. What are those special guys? The real The Navy
Oh,
SEAls?
the Navy
SEALs, yeah.
SEAls.
Okay, you go look at every 6 months they have 900 to 1,200 people that start, and they get 30 that finish. 30 of them that are built out of steel. And you want to know what? It's not that the other ones aren't crap people. They're good people, but they don't have the intangibles, the ness to do it. And if you think I'm wrong, go to the hockey arenas. Watch all the kids that play hockey. Thousands of boys. How many of them can get to the NHL? Very few.
That's right.
Same with the military, with those key jobs. And that's what Alfred says. You give me a pigeon that goes 22 weeks, and guess what you have? You have a breeding machine.
I'm glad Alfred said this and not Ryan. He says 99 out of the 100 that you have on your loft are stupid. And one of them,
exact.
And yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly what I just said.
What did we prove in Pioneer Village this
one,
year?
1 out of 1,000, maybe super. And maybe 5 out of 100 are half decent.
Yes.
The rest of them are crap. I sit on the floor and I feed them, and I watch when I hand feed. I watch who comes all the time the first. Who's always right there? Who's always out there right here? Right, right. So he's 100%, 100% right.
He hits it. So you know what? And that's the hardest part to get is that's the truth. And Leah, we say it every day. What's the hardest thing to hear? The truth, isn't it?
Terrible. Sure.
It's the worst thing. You know, you spend a lot of money on pigeons and you send them out and they didn't hit. Or they hit and they don't hit. They do hit. They're garbage. This. You guys are going to breed a lot of not good pigeons. It's okay. It's okay. You got to go through the bad ones to find the good ones. We don't remember when you lose pigeons too, you can't bring them back. If you dwell on the ones you lost, you're not going to be able to focus on the ones you have.
If I can say something, Tony Elvis was here a couple of weeks ago for the get together for the presentation, and Tony was right what he said. If I raise 100 young ones and I lose them down to 20, it's my job, number one, to forget those 80, and my job to finish with those 20, to work with those 20. Those are the best 20 you ever had.
Right. And I got to get the best out of what wants to work with me.
That's it.
And some of those are lucky and some of those are good.
But you got to be respectable to your birds.
Yeah. And you know what? And again, I hear so many people. This is another thing. I raised 50 babies. I started training. I lost them down to 20. I'm all depressed. I went to the first race. I haven't put the work in. I lost another few. By race 3, they say, look, I only got 12 left. I'm going to keep these or I'm not going to have any birds left. Unfortunately, you're going backwards.
Just kill all your stock birds.
You know what? You're going to have to get a little bit thicker skin and have to push on. You have to let the birds, you got to work the birds. Whatever your system is, work the birds to the end. Give them the 9 weeks, the 8 weeks, the 15 weeks.
And Alfred says junk goes out, no doubt about it. You know, we really do need to have Alfred. We need to set up a Monday where he's able to come on and talk with us. He's got so much knowledge, him and his dad. I know, Ryan, when you and I talked to him last year for his auction, we even learned a lot talking to him. And it would be great to be able to have him on the show for a question and answer. Maybe it's something that we could, because I know he works all hours, and maybe he'd be able to swing it where he'd be able to be on when everybody's on for the family show.
Yeah, for sure. If not, when I go down there, maybe I can we can get in a hotel room and set it up. He is great. You guys will really love him.
Yeah, he is absolute super. He says, we have a lot of good, not much is good, but good is much. Exactly. and you know, I think getting back to the training and you training hard and your training strategies and whatnot, I think you guys also have to recognize that Ryan is also aware of who he's flying against. And he knows what their training schedules are like, and he knows how hard they train. And he knows that in order to compete at this level with these guys, you have to bring your game. You got to bring your A game. Because, Ryan, you know how. The guys who are winning in our area, how hard are they training? Do you know one guy that tops the combine every single week and doesn't train hard around here?
No.
Well, I said there's out of
yeah, we know that. We know the numbers, but these guys are putting 3,000 miles on their birds or 1,500 miles on their birds. They got training they darken, they use the medications, the drops, they do this, they do that. They play the game a certain way. And again, as I say, for me to win, I have to not be afraid to lose.
Right.
And that's where this year we lost birds, because if I was, the wheels were coming off the bus, and guess what? I said, we're going to push through this, and we'll find these ones.
Lost those ones that couldn't figure it out.
Right.
And anybody that says, you know what? I'll say it. I started with 60 young ones, right?
Right.
The first race, I believe, or training. I had 14 left at the end. They flew 9 races. They flew those 4, whatever. 14 left. You know what? Anybody that says I didn't lose any birds, he's doing something wrong. Or she, they're doing something wrong. And you get a guy says, I started off with 60 birds, and you know what? I only lost 2. You know what?
And
I don't know what.
And another thing I want to say as well, look at the races that you're entering. Okay, our race is 5 birds for $1,500. Gives you 5 bullets in the gun. Okay, remember, when you send me the 5 bullets, your real Super 5 could be with you, or that one special bird could be with you. And you send me 5 that are average, or not so good, or really good. I'm not testing your whole loft. I'm testing what you've picked, what you're looking at. Right? So there's luck involved. You want to have some fun, send me 30 birds. Now we're starting to test a group of your pigeons. Your odds to go up.
I'm not sure if Alfred is still on, but Ryan, perhaps maybe you can answer this question if Alfred's not on. Mike Vanderyak, how many times a week does Alfred take his old birds training by car? Ryan, what's his training schedule like? Or maybe
Alfred, if Alfred's on, from what I gathered from Alfred, he's over in Europe. They don't train as hard. They do a lot of loft line. I think with his young birds, he does about 15 or 20 tosses. I know in the old birds, he doesn't train very hard, but he watches the birds. And from what I remember him saying to me, if the pigeons aren't responding the way he wants, he doesn't mind taking them 40 or 50 or 60 kilometers to what he calls wake them up a bit. Again, that's in the broken English of what I'm understanding. He doesn't train hard. They like to loft fly. They like to watch. They do a lot of that.
We went to visit Francis and
Bart Redan.
Right. And I asked him, how much do you train? He said, I train twice a day, in the morning and afternoon. They meant loft flying. The birds flew for a half an hour to an hour, and then they come in. But he also mentioned he was a member of 3 clubs, a short, a middle, and a long distance clubs, 3 different clubs. And he would put his birds on Tuesday or Monday on the short club.
For 100 kilometer or 80 kilometer.
Yeah, right. And then he would go maybe on Wednesday on the middle distance club.
Right.
He'd go 150, 200 miles. Right. And so he was, that's actually training. And those guys, if they're long distance flyers, they don't care about those 2 short clubs. They don't care. They just hope they just get the bird home. That's all they want.
Fun story.
So actually, it's training.
Fun story. We talk about the Staff Van Riet pigeons, and his favorite spot was Quiverin. It was a 50 or 60 mile race, and the pigeon by the name of the Daniel won it 52 times. The Dickie Prince won it 32 times, and the Prince won it 25 times. Okay, these were all 3 brothers. And when they interview staff and they ask them, about these races, well, how does a pigeon get 52 times first? He raced them 4 or 5 times a week, 50, 60 miles. Hold on. I know from experience, the Staff Van Riet pigeons are great right out to 400 miles. And that was because this guy, yes, they were short races, but he worked them. The birds have it in the DNA to go. They go. They're not sprint racing once a week, 50 miles. He was playing the Daniel 4 times a week or 5 times a week. He said you could play up to 6 or 7 times in a week.
Right. So 50, 60 miles, 6 times a week.
How much work did your bird get that week?
That's real training, man. Real work.
Real work. But again, these are, you have to read in between these lines. That's reading in between them. Back to you, Leah.
Okay, let me get to the comments here. Where are we here? Neil Gonzalez. Richard, Wally Bielek had a great season with no or very few losses.
He was lucky.
Lucky.
And he's got good birds. He bought birds off of Annex Gochan.
The Elkmans.
Yeah, and
the Elkmans, yeah.
Yeah, right. And he put that pair together, and he absolutely did fantastic. He had 4 brothers out of so many nests, out of a few nests there, that they won in the Pioneer, and he only flew them to 2 of the 4 races. If he would have kept flying them, I'm sure he would have made money. And then he flew the Board and Bond race, I think.
Yeah, and he won some money there. The interesting thing with Wally was Wally throughout the season, he was behind maybe 25 or 30 minutes in the season where he was flying in his other area. And when he came here to Pioneer at the end of the season, I could feel it in his birds and see it in the feather quality and everything. The birds, they seemed to come into form at the end. And there was no stopping them. Myself, Richard, or Tony Alvis, we couldn't close the gap on him. He was right there. And who buys 15 bands and on the last shipping day, the day before, he lets the birds out and loses 1 to a hawk?
So
he lost 1 bird out of 15. He should have went and bought a lottery ticket.
Wow.
Because you would say that that's the exception, not the rule, right, guys?
Yeah. You're gonna watch. You know what? This is a fun fact. He's 85 years old. We joke that he's 105, but let's see how he does this year. Every season is different, and he had a super season at the end.
Robert Daughtry, can you loft fly every day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do it every day. I think you can loft fly.
On Sunday, I like to let them rest, but then Monday they go out for a loft fly. Yeah, if I can do it twice a day before training starts.
You will always see in loft flying how they bounced back from the race. When you let them out on that Monday, if you race Saturdays and you let them out on a Monday, and those birds go out and they're not stiff and they go and they dip and dive, and you know what? You think, boy, they should only give me 10 minutes, and you know what? They give you 40 minutes. You know what I'm thinking? Man, I'm going to be good this week. And you watch them. Loft flying is basically you being able to ask them without speaking to them. Hey, how you feeling? You're going to see it, but you have to look for it. And that's called writing it down. That doesn't do it. Look, feel it, see it, watch it, observe it. Going and letting your birds out for a loft flying, going in the house and playing on the computer or watching a baseball game, that's not putting the work into the birds. Yeah, I let them out for an hour and I let them out and then I call them in and that's it. You're not watching. You're not observing.
Bill Wema, Alfred sent me a picture that you may like to show. I sent it to you in FB Messenger. Okay, send it to Ryan, Bill, because I'm not on Facebook anymore. I've decided to take myself out of the Facebook game, so send it to Ryan in Messenger, and he will, if I can't share it tonight, then we will certainly share it on next Monday's show. Troy Spencer, if your pigeons can't loft fly every day, something is wrong with the pigeons. I think you guys would agree with that, right?
That's right, too.
Yeah, and another thing, and I see the one loft races. They get these. Have you seen these contraptions that they do for selling cars, Leah?
What?
The thing that you plug in, and it's the guy that's moving like this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Flagging the birds and getting them to go. If you really have to do it, the birds don't want to fly, and birds that don't want to fly aren't in the condition. There's something that you're not playing the piano to have them right.
Well, sometimes you flag. We've seen you out there with the flag sometimes, with the ball, getting them up.
At the very beginning, to get them started.
Yeah. I've seen birds that are going in to race 200 miles here, and the guy's got the machine blowing. And I'm going to myself, yeah, okay, you got the machine blowing. You already told me how they are. You told me right there. I see the machine going, and I go, yeah.
I let mine out.
Ain't ready to
I
roll.
let mine out, and they either go. If they don't, I just give them a couple. Come on, let's go. Get up. And boy, they just, boom, gone.
But things we look at, different observations.
Okay, so that's last year's calendar that you have there, Ryan, but that's okay. This year's calendar looks similar. We're not going to get all wound up about this. It looks
I
similar
couldn't
to
find
that.
it.
We do have the 2022. Let's put it the right way, please. We do have the 2022 calendars in stock. I had them this weekend, but I guess we forgot to put them out.
That's
we just had so much fun on Saturday
Can't
that we
hardly
forgot
see
to
that.
put them out. But we do have them, and they are available for pickup if you have ordered them, or we will be shipping them out. So hopefully everybody gets them before Christmas. Add a little bit of Pioneer motivation to your 2022 season. Every month has a new Pioneer slogan to get you motivated. I'm feeling motivated already.
That makes you motivated. You know, people in sports like golfing, guys in the wintertime, it gets a bit boring, and they look at a calendar with somebody banging a golf ball, and they just get this feeling like,
Hey,
it gives you that good feeling.
It's a great calendar. It looks nice. And it's, you put the dates on it, whatever you want. You look at the picture, and you know what? There's something there. You read it every day. Say it to yourself, and you're going to, you know what? Keeps you going a little bit. And that's what it's about. Because you know what? Pigeon racing, I'm going to be honest with you. We're all losers. You need something to keep you going. It's hard. It's hard to feel like a winner.
It is damn hard. I can attest to it. It just about pushed me over the edge this season. So it is damn hard. And you got to have the support, and you got to have the right frame of mind to keep going. And hopefully that calendar will keep people going.
The captions on there are perfect.
Thank you. I made them. I didn't make them, but I made the calendar. Troy Spencer, I think that machine is just a plus to make sure the pigeons stay up.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, guess what? Pigeons that feel good and they're not hurting. You know what? Mother Nature gave them those wings, and guess what they like to do? They like to get up into the air and play. You know what? When I go to Wonderland, the amusement park, I like to go on the roller coasters. Right? It feels great to me. That machine, he's telling them it's time to fly now. I get that. But when we're in to race 150 miles or 200 miles, I expect my birds, when you let them out, they should want to go and play and not want to land. Because if they want to land that early, that's just me, though. Some people, you know what? Another way to bake a cake, it's just not my cup of tea.
You know, Ryan, I used to go up on top of the Twisted Sister and run back and forth to get them to fly, but then I fell off the roof once. And it was, thank God, I grabbed the ladder. It saved me.
Oh, boy.
Alfred?
I got a sore shoulder.
Alfred says, flying around the loft is the best and most beautiful thing there is. You can see everything from there. If they are healthy and are getting in shape 45 minutes away, back and forth and times in half an hour. Okay, so basically he's saying loft flying is perfect because you really get to see the condition on them. And I think you guys would agree as well, right? You know when they're ready to start training. You know how they're feeling when they're up there loft flying.
And not only that, the loft flying puts them in condition, but it also mentally grounds them in on their home. Do you understand me? It gives them that ground. Right?
And they play in the wind. They go to the east, then they go to the west, then they go to the north, then they go to the south. When they go out, and what Alfred says is, and they go out and they're gone for 20 minutes and they come back, and they're gone for 15 minutes and they come back, and you see them crossing the sky. They're telling you, we're feeling great now, and they're training themselves to come. They're coming back, and they always come over their loft just so they say, hey, we're home, and then they go back out again, and they come back, and they're just building confidence, and they're feeling good when they're...
Oh, I think his audio has cut out there. We will wait until they get their audio reconnected. Technology, it's a wonderful thing. So guys, remember to tell all of your friends that at the Pioneer this year, we are accepting all clocks. Any kind of clock you have, we will accept them this year.
So like I was saying...
Start buying your bands. We got other questions here.
Just taking some air there.
Robert Daughtry, what's an average toss week? 3 to 4 or more? Training toss? Is
For
that
me?
what he's asking?
3 to 4 or more.
You know, I think in the short races, I don't know. I think in the short racing, I like just at least Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 a week. I don't think you need to go Monday, loft fly them, and I don't think you need to get crazy far. I think if you do your training pretty much before the season, get them into condition, and then you try and hold them. Again, this year, am I going to make a little adjustment on the training? Yeah, I'll adjust it a little bit. You're always tweaking things, but a couple tosses a week is good, but definitely the loft flying. You need loft flying.
I was going to say that. Do you mind if I say something? Or
Yeah, sure.
Well, now
and then Rita has a question. Go ahead.
I would say that loft flying is the same as it's in a teenage stage in their life. So they must learn their where their loft is. They must learn their surroundings. It's like a teenager. Let him go out from the house, and he wanders over there to the park. Then he wanders over there to the plaza. Then he wanders back. He starts to learn his grounds. If you take somebody and lock him up, and then all of a sudden he's 30 years old and tell him go, he's going to get lost. It's like going to the airport. You start learning this stuff, and that's a very important part in the teenage stage in a pigeon.
Yeah,
very important part.
That's right. And I've been to a lot of guys' places, Europeans and that, and they'll let their birds out for a few hours. They're young birds. They give them multiple hours out. They don't mind if they land on the roof. They don't mind certain things. They don't mind if they do because they're learning. They're in a learning stage, and you got to let the kids be kids a little bit. I don't look at it as bad habits. You see birds on the grass or birds on a roof. Listen, when it's time to get them in, I'll get them in when it's time. But right now, I have to get them to learn the surroundings, feel comfortable, and I want them to want to be able to let's get going, get up into that wind, and go do some exploring because that's when the teaching starts. Go ahead, Leah.
Well, Rita has a question, but I just have a thought. And my thought is, we know that in Europe that they don't do as much road training as we do here, correct?
Correct.
Do you think... Well, they do I know they do road training, but they don't do it the same as we do here, I don't think.
Right.
And do you think that's because that they are in a more concentrated area where you can have like a flyer here and then a flyer like 2 minutes down the road and another flyer 4 minutes down the road? Are they not more in a more condensed area? And do you think the continual loft flying there just gets the homing instincts better for their group because they're a more concentrated group? I mean, you got to think the Netherlands, Belgium, etc. They're small countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of flyers packed in these small countries. So do you think that the loft flying better suits their style of racing? Like, is that why? Because didn't you say somebody from the States, like I think it was Steve Martis and his dad or something, or somebody went from the U.S. and they went to Europe to fly for a season and tried to do the same techniques that they did here, which was like the heavy road training like we do, and they weren't successful there, right?
They hit the odd time he hit, but Rick Martis, he said he couldn't. I was speaking with him down at the Fregari show. We were sitting down at the table, and he said, I couldn't compete with these Europeans. He said, I had my American idea to get a car and go every day. And he said, I just could not come. The odd time, he said, I'd score. But
it wasn't the same like he was in the U.S. And I think you could be right because there's so many more birds, so condensed. Maybe that loft flying zones the birds in to their loft where it is. It's almost like when you loft fly, the birds only range, I'm going to be honest, maybe 5 or 6 miles away, and they come back, and they go 2 miles away, they go 10 miles away, whatever, and they're zoning in. Maybe that's a little bit of the reason. I don't know.
Our flyers are way more spread out. I mean, you just look at the terrain and where everybody is located. And I mean, it's way more spread out than it ever will be in Europe, right?
Well, I'll tell you something. Dennis Sapan, I went to visit him when we were there in Belgium. Top-notch flyer. I'm talking take 25 positions in his combine. Right for 25. And his spread in his combine is 40 miles spread.
Yeah.
So that's like a 40-mile spread is almost like not
Not very big.
Not very
40-mile
big at
spread is
all.
quite a spread.
Well, it's
That's
right.
quite a spread.
It's a spread, but they're still in a. I think he said it was 40 miles deep.
No, 40-mile spread.
Oh,
You told me.
All right, maybe I missed that, but everywhere is
I don't
different.
know. That was just a thought. I was just wondering
Okay,
if maybe
question.
that's why. Anyway, Rita, during young bird racing season, if your young birds loft fly for an hour, should you also train on the same day?
Sure.
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%. Boy, your young birds when they loft fly for an hour, they're just starting. As we say, they're still warmed up. They're just getting warmed up. They got lots of goodness in them.
You take that little bit of energy out of them in the morning, get them in, give them a light breakfast, call them in, let them sit for half an hour, in the basket we go, and up the road.
Up the road, yeah. And you know what? They'll be fine. There's no problem.
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
Robert Daughtry says that he has his birds flying 1 hour or more most days.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah. You got the health right.
Troy says the worst part of having the pigeons out for a long period of time without any issues is the hawk.
Yeah. That is true. I mean, that's you gotta let them out at the right time of day or the right time of the year. You start letting your youngsters out. Remember that, guys, in this area. You know, if you are within 20 miles of our place, and I'm just using our place here, probably want to start letting your young birds out, giving them a little bit of open loft. The last week or two of April into May, the hawk should roughly by this time be passed on. If you go before then, you are running the risk of the hawk scaring the shit out of them and losing a whole bunch. But hey, you bake your cake.
Make sure, I always say, the buds are well on the trees. The leaves are starting to bud out. And then you last year I got hit right up till the first week of May. And then after that, I was fine.
See, there you go. Alfred's right. See, we're right on that, Leah.
So Alfred says you're right. The fanciers are closer and have five or so in the 6 kilometer range. Yeah, because that's what we noticed. Even I noticed when we went there. They're very close together. These, the countries aren't big, man, and everybody's super close together. So I think maybe when they loft fly, they get in kits with the other local birds around, and then that's how they know how to make it home. Who knows? I don't know.
They learn.
I think when they loft flying, what they're doing is the birds always come over the loft. They're basically in the loft fly. They're doing a short training toss for an hour. Birds go away, they come back. Birds go away, they come back. Birds go away, they come back. The birds start to know in their area exactly where they're homing into.
And when they hook up with other birds that are down the road 2 or 3 kilometers or 5 kilometers,
Right.
Whatever, they hook up and they learn.
And the most amazing thing was we were at Bart Verdan's, sitting in his house, talking with him, and you looked out of his window of his house, and you seen a group of pigeons flying, and you thought they were Bart Verdan's. And guess what they were? They were his neighbors.
Well, I know that day we went to Francis and Bert there, whatever his name is. We were sitting there, and we could see a quarter mile away
Another group.
A loft flying. He says, "Oh, that's so and so's birds. He's hard to beat, that guy." Yeah.
So Bill Weedman is asking Alfred, tell everyone how many times a week you train young birds and how far do you take them? It's official. We're going to have to get Alfred and Kiki on for their own show. We're going to have to make arrangements and have them on. We've got lots of questions for Alfred. We want to pick his brain. So Alfred, if you're on, how many times a week do you train your young birds and how far do you take them? Let us know in the comments. We'll wait for him to respond. Rodrigo,
I'm not going to.
Nice to see you on, Rodrigo. By the way, guys, if you are an American and you are entering our One Loft race and you are looking for your $100 bands, Ryan is going to the States next week. It is easiest for us to mail them directly from the United States because for some strange reason it takes forever when we try and mail from Canada. So Ryan will be in the United States next week, and we are mailing out bands from Buffalo. So if you need your bands, let us know before he goes to the U.S. next week.
Now, Leah, I have an idea.
Okay.
Why don't we've got a nice group of people here on the show. tonight, and we have them, it seems to be every week. Why don't we charter a flight to Holland?
Sure.
We'll all go on a flight, 50 or 100 of us, and we'll go right to Alfred's house.
Well, we might have to do the tour thing.
I think that would be the greatest
this
time.
winter. That might be something we're going to have to do.
The only question I might have to ask people is if they're going to go, you must learn how to ride a bicycle.
Okay,
Because
let's
from
get
the
back
airport, we have to ride.
We're going to get back to the training here. So Mike Vanderyak wants to know, Bill Wema, so why do you train so far and so often? I think it's because Bill is training to his competition, to what his competition is training. That's how I would probably answer that. That's what you do, Ryan, right?
And hey, hold on. This isn't a, well, he's this and you're that. There's a million ways to bake the cake. Bill finds his result his way. You know, we find our result our way. Alfred finds his result his way. So we're giving options. You're learning stuff from different people. Go watch the Staff Van Riet video. Guess what? You're going to learn from him too. A lot of different ways to bake it, Leah.
Alfred says the young pigeons only get 4 times and learn a flight of 10 kilometers. We start with 50, and at the end of the season, we have 35 more. So I guess he only trains the youngsters 4 times, I think, up to 10 kilometers. I think that's what he's saying.
Whoa.
He says he starts the season with 50, and at the end of the season, he has 35. I think that's what he's saying there. Right. Rodrigo says that he trains every day. He trains 40 miles a day. I think what Ryan's saying is absolutely correct. It's whatever works for you and your pigeons. Mike, if loft flying works for you and you just loft fly and you're at the top of the sheet every single week and you're nailing it just by loft flying, then keep doing what you're doing because obviously that's working with your group. But if you're one of those that needs to train every single day or train hard, or you feel that in order to get your birds to go and win, you got to do the training, then that's what you have to do. Again, there's no right or wrong way.
Yeah, and you know, here's another thing. I know myself, if I give Bill Wema pigeons to fly, I know what Bill's going to do.
He's going to work them.
He's going to work them, and I have to understand that and send a pigeon that can do that. Or, you know, if I'm a guy that's maybe only loft flying or I'm not that kind of guy, my pigeons might not work with Bill because Bill is going to sort them out the way Bill does. And here's another thing. I want to give everyone a real tip. When you send your birds to a one-loft race or anyone to handle your pigeons, do not get on them and rag the shit out of them. And, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Let him play the game. If you don't like it, don't go back.
Isn't that why you're giving them the birds? You're not giving a handler your birds so you can fly them. If you wanted to do that, then you can fly them in your own loft. You're giving people the birds to handle because you like the way they handle, you like the way they train, you've seen something. Hopefully you've done your research and you know who the heck it is you're giving your birds to. And then you just have to let them go. It's like when you go to the casino and you just put the little coins in the machine. It is what it is. And you have to just let it be what it is. Not micromanage the handler.
Yes, that's the key word. Micromanage, quarterback, Monday it, or whatever you want to call it. Leave the guy and let him play it for you. And you know what? All you can say is, hey, thanks. You know what? You flew it your way. You know, it is what it is. You got to give the guy the opportunity to do it. And I use Bill as an example because I know Bill's a guy that I know what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. And there's guys that I will not give birds to because, you know what? You don't know what they're doing.
But that's your choice, right?
That's right.
Your decision. Mike Vanderyak, unfortunately, new guys get told they have to train every day from 60 miles, and that can be very hard on new members.
Oh, 60 miles every day?
I don't know. You know what I find with new members, again, they want to crawl, walk, and run in one season. And unfortunately, in this pigeon hobby, pigeon game, pigeon sport, that just doesn't happen.
In any hobby.
In anything, that's right. In anything, it's not, the work you put in is what you're going to get out. And the harder you work and study and analyze and handle and work and play with those pigeons, you're going to go to the top much quicker.
remember one thing. You don't become a ping pong champion overnight. Okay? Or a card champion or any kind of.
I think with that comment, I'm going to read Bill's response because I think it just hits it right on the head. Bill Weemus says, I am on the fringe. If I was right in the middle, I would be happy with training less. My life in sports has my head trained to do this. Show me an athlete in any sport that wins at an elite level by resting lots and training little. I agree 150%. Ryan was a professional soccer player. How much bloody training did you do to make it to that level from the time you were 4 years old? How much training did you do? How much couch sitting did you do? And how much training did you do?
I'll tell you, this guy here right beside me, in January and February here in Canada, we would go out on the soccer field and we would play every day. And the snow was we had the snow packed. And it was bumpy ice and snow, and we wear our cleats and we play and we pass the ball and the ball would bounce. The ball would almost have no air left. It was so cold. We play. And getting back to professional athletes, like Bill says, Kobe Bryant, he won the NBA championship. And the day after, he was in the gym and somebody came to clean out the locker or something. He said, "What are you doing here? You should be relaxing." And he goes, "Well, I got to win next year. We're here to do this again." Winners don't stop. And that's.
Oh, Mike Vanderyak, I love you, buddy. He always loves to. He adds the excitement to the show.
Stir it up.
Mike Vanderyak is asking, is it a pigeon race or an athletic event? It is an athletic event. These are athletes. And if you think anything differently, I'm not sure what you're doing, but they're athletes 150%.
Well, they are. You want me to tell you, if you tell guys we're not going to train, we're only allowed to loft fly, let's see how many guys can be honest. It's Mike, people are putting work into this, man. This is for some of these guys, this is a full-time to a part-time job. That people get divorced from their loved ones, their families, because they put more time into that than they do anything else.
I know pigeon men we call them pigeon widowers.
Yeah.
Okay. I know pigeon men that have boats and go out into the water to get their birds to do certain things across water.
Listen, come on. This is a sport. This is like going to the gym. I mean, you don't get to be Mr. Olympiad by lifting weight, by just going and doing some push-ups. Come on. We don't. You know what? We should have a Mr. Olympiad for just a natural-looking person who's got that kind of muscle.
Then why do all the pigeons fly at pretty much the same speed in the same wind conditions?
Well, Mike, you're one of these guys, and I don't know where you've gotten this fortune cookie wisdom on. Wind conditions don't play an effect. I don't know where you came up with this. Go and ride a bicycle into the wind, 10 mile or 5 miles into the wind, and then the next day do it 5 miles with a tailwind. You're going to see. I don't understand this. Mike, you're the only guy that says wind plays no effect on pigeon racing. And I'm going to tell you, I'm laughing at this one. It says it on a plane. When you get up in a plane.
Okay, yeah.
A plane.
Like when you go on a plane, why is it quicker when you're on a tailwind than it is when you're in a headwind? Like sometimes by a half hour or 45 minutes. We're talking about a plane that runs by an engine.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Dean Pallett said it the way it was. Pigeons mostly fly at the same speed. It's your job to condition the pigeon to hold his start speed the longest. The start speed. Now, if he has a tailwind, he's going to pick up speed as he goes. But if it's a headwind, he has to keep his start speed for the longest and cut the straightest line.
Mike Vanderyak, Alfred does not train by car. He works the birds around the loft. That's not what he said. He does train them by car. He did not say he does not train. He does train. Read the comment again, Mike. He does train. He trains them out to 10 kilometers. He does train them. He does train them.
And again, Alfred will make adjustments. He will make adjustments. If you go and watch the Colm Van Zoren interview I did, how particular the man is. He has a pigeon trailer, okay, that probably holds 300 pigeons. He uses that. He doesn't have 300. He has 50 young birds. He has a trailer that holds 300 birds or 200 birds. I said, well, why would you have this? And he smiled and said, when I train my pigeons, they get trained like they are in a transport, proper training. That's the, what do we call it? The dedication, the leaving no stone unturned.
You know what we need to do? We need to get Alfred over here. Give him a loft.
Let him go. Let him go.
And see if he changes his training technique here based on the competition, or if he would continue to train and get his birds ready the same way that he would do there. It would be interesting to see.
How about this, Leah? How about I go to Alfred's and do it the first year there?
Okay.
And then Alfred will make it a deal that he's got to come here and try it.
Okay. Bill Wema, if you want to be on top, you need your birds to be 1 or 2% better than the rest. I work them as hard as I do to get that 1 or 2%. Exactly. Whatever Bill has to do to get them to that level, that's what he does. And whether it's loft line or training, he reads the play, reads his team, and works accordingly. I think that's what Bill's saying. Bill's been doing it a number of years, though, right? And you don't just learn that overnight.
That's right. You got to put the work in.
Close Petzold, nice to see you on. Their early races are as far as our training tosses. Their early races are as far as our training tosses.
They can have 70, 80-mile races. That's right. Klaus, I'm going to give you some birds this year. I'm going to send you 10. Klaus, put me in the money. I got to send Klaus $50 bands, Leah. Okay. He's going to put me in the money this year.
Perfect. Van Zoren says, I win. Yes, you do. Neil, GPS rings have proved the speeds and altitude vary along the course. The speeds are not consistent.
I don't know.
What do we know?
Again, I'm not even trusting GPS. Alfred, what do you think of GPS?
Yeah, do you put GPS trackers on your birds, Alfred?
Hope he's not driving.
He'll
go off the road on that one.
Keep your birds over. No, but it's interesting to get other people's perspective from other parts of the world and hear about how they're doing it, right? There is no right or wrong way. It's whatever works for you. And whatever gets you to the top of the sheet every week, that's really what counts, right?
It's 100%. There's so many ways. And this is, I think, what pigeon men do. They go back and forth, and I do it, and everyone does it. We get into little arguments. But again, I got to look at the guys who are winning. I mean, in this area, Bill is a guy who's going to win. Right. And I know that. Right. And I worry about when I got to go compete against Mr. Bill Wema, because I know he's going to put him to work and he's going to feed him a certain way and motivate him and do all these little things. It's not just Bill taking the bird 60 miles. He's got damn good pigeons. He puts the work in. His loft's right. He uses motivation. Remember, it's not about how far you train. It's a lot of those little things as well.
What's the package?
A lot of the little things.
It's the
package. It's the package.
It's the health program. It's the training program. It's the loft flying program. It's the recovery program. It is everything combined. You can't just slack on one area and then think, well, I'm going to train the birds 60 miles every day and I'm going to win. It doesn't work that way. It's everything working together.
He has, if I would put it this way, Bill or Alfred, other names, they have a system. Right. And they stick with the system.
Right.
And that's what works. They don't change the system. They have a system, and they try and keep on the same system.
You know, and again, this year we had people say, and I'll say it, we had people, pigeon men say to us, well, I didn't like that you trained them in the evenings or in the afternoons. Or what have you. And I kind of look at it and I say, I can train them at 7 in the morning. I can train them at noon. I can train them at 3 or 4. I can train them at 5, 6, 7, or 8. Remember, all of us, the new guys, we all have different schedules. And I wanted to show that you can be on the top training later in the day. I was at the top. I got up to the top. I did pretty darn good. You know what? I didn't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and work the birds like 90% of them say that's the only time to do it. You don't have to. There's different ways to do it. It's okay. And that's what we want to show. This year, we're going to train them more between 10 and 12 every day. We're going to do a midday this season.
But why are you doing that? Are you doing that because you think it's what's best, or are you doing that because of public pressure, people ragging on you last year that you didn't do morning training tosses?
No, I like the evening training tosses. They're probably my favorite of all. Who wants to get up early? But I want to loft fly in the morning like I did in the first year. This year, I want to keep them in the dark longer. There you go. That's my real reason. And to keep them in the dark longer, further through the season, that means I'm going to have to get the work done between 10 and 12 so I can have them in the dark by 2. There you go. That's why I want to do it.
Okay, Alfred, I'm not sure if you see this comment, but Tony from Loft is asking, I was wondering about this. Can Alfred let us know how far your first races are? Alfred, put it in the comments. Robert uses GPS during training. Alfred does not use GPS. Alfred says, want to feel the tension. I will never check the time of the competition. I will see when the clock is turned. So he doesn't check to see what his competition's doing. He waits till the end.
They're real old school.
Phil Lima, maybe people don't realize the difference in geography between here in Ontario and Europe. That's exactly what I was saying. For example, the Up North Combine, that's the House League Combine, goes from me to the west to Andy Pilata in the east and Jason Nelson to the north. That's the same as Brussels, Belgium to Dusseldorf, Germany to Amsterdam, same distances between. They don't race young birds like this in Europe. There are hundreds of lofts very close together, and that's what I was saying. That's why I was saying maybe that's why the Europeans don't road train as hard as we do, because their lofts are so close together and it's a more concentrated area. That's all I can figure, because why else wouldn't they? It's a different landscape here. It's a different geography, right? We're far more spread apart.
Yeah, it's different. And again, you have to do to your course, right? Different. It's different. I mean, you know, look at the people that go and fly over the water and the birds can't do it. But meanwhile, there's guys in Ireland, they specialize in water racing, and the birds do really good. You know.
Klaus says, Europeans used to laugh at us over here because of all the training tosses we give our young birds. No one over there did very much road work. Take a look at the top guys now, and you will see the top dogs are doing what we have been doing for years. I think a lot of the top guys here in the Greater Toronto area, at least the ones that we know of, they still road train pretty heavy, from what I've seen.
Yeah. I know a lot of the guys here that do well, they don't even loft fly. They don't loft fly. Now, I don't agree with that, but or they say their birds don't loft fly. I don't know. You know what? There's a lot of different ways to do this.
Maybe they do.
Alfred, do you want to make a bet? If you fly and take care like us, you win everything. Well, it would be interesting for Alfred to come. I'd love to have him come or have a European come and try and fly here and see if they.
I love that's what I like.
Experiment, right?
Hey, Leah, this is what I could do. I'm the only guy that's nuts enough to do this. I can fly the way Alfred says. I'll have to talk to him 2 to 3 times a day, right? Mm-hmm. And fly his way. Now, Alfred, all the complaints I'm going to get, you're going to have to take them with me, buddy. Because, hey, it's going to be dangerous.
You know what the great thing is about this show is that we can bring up topics and we can agree to disagree. And like Ryan always says, and like I say, and Richard says, whatever works for you. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever is getting you to the top. If loft flying every day and less training works for you and you're winning, then that's great. Keep doing that. If it's not working for you and perhaps you want to step it up a little and do a little more road training, then that's okay too. Right?
That's right.
But right or wrong. It's what works for you.
Right. And the other thing, remember, to win races, you need thoroughbreds, right? You can't win with a donkey. A donkey ain't going to win. Going to be nice. He's going to look good. He's going to make some fun sounds and eat carrots, but he ain't going to win.
And they are
unless you're running against a bunch of donkeys.
And, well, we don't race donkeys. We race thoroughbreds and we race
athletes.
That's right. And that's why when you see them come home on race day and they're huffing and puffing on that board, they gave it their all. They are athletes.
Right. But what I'm saying is, if you're thinking you're going to go out and just loft fly regular pigeons or work, you don't have the horses to do it. If you don't have the horses, you can put all the work into them. You can't do it.
Mike Vandiak said there's a top European on this show tonight. He trains his old bird 4 times up to 10 miles. He does do that where he lives in his area against his competition because that's what works for him. We don't know what Alfred would do if he came to here.
Hold on a second.
I want to ask a question.
He doesn't know what he would do because he's not flown here.
Hold on. I got a question.
One question.
You want to ask? Then I got a question from Mike. I got a question from Mike.
And then I'm going to
Alfred has done great, but what was his big win this year? He had a couple good wins.
Okay.
How many birds was he flying against?
Thousands.
How many thousand?
I don't know.
10,000? 20,000?
Listen, he was flying against more than 1,500 birds. That's all we got to say.
What I'm saying is, when he's flying against 15,000 or 20,000 birds, those aren't pigeons that are within 6 kilometers or miles around his house. You understand me?
Okay.
So like, guys, don't say, well, Alfred doesn't have to train that much because he's got birds flying around. He's competing against 10,000 or 20,000 birds, and he's winning.
Right.
These 20,000 pigeons, they don't live just 6 miles from his house.
But you're not. What you don't understand is he has an Olympiad champion in his loft.
There you go.
Hold on. That's not a regular pigeon. We don't have that in our loft.
First Olympiad all around 2020.
Hold on.
2021. Right. Congratulations.
And I got a question for Mike Vanderyak.
No,
I got a question for Mike. Mike, I hear you on the show quite often, and you say you trained your young birds out, and for the rest of the season you don't train them, and you just loft fly them. You do it once a day or twice a day, and you single toss. How are your results? Is that working?
Guess we were waiting to see him to answer. Neil Gonzalez says, Ryan, some casinos are closely watching GPS technology for new revenue streams outside of what we can all make assumptions on what we think the birds did. Well, Neil, if you know any casinos that are interested in pigeon racing, send them our way.
Yeah, I want to work with a casino. I'll just vacuum the floor.
All I'm saying is, if I put my pigeons in with 20,000 pigeons, they'll be so afraid they'll never come home. Okay? So
you got a good point.
20,000 pigeons, we're talking from here maybe to Guelph, maybe from here to, or 30,000 pigeons. That's a lot of birds. Yeah. And if the man only does this little bit of loft flying and a little bit of training, but he's still can compete.
But they've been doing this for years on their system, and they've brought in the birds that handle the system, and that, like Bill said, where they live and how it is, it's a little different than here. And that's the great part. Alfred can't come here, and most of us can't go there. Now, if I went there, would I be damned to try and do it my way? Yes. But if I'm talking to Alfred, guess what? He's superior. I'll listen.
Rick Marta said he's a top flyer here in the States. He said, I'm going to go to Europe. And he bought a house, got a car. He went for 5 years. He figured, I'm going to show these Europeans what flying's about. And he told me straight, I'm sorry, but I'm in the same area with all these flyers, and I just could not compete against this guy.
And I thought what was so excellent was that was
your answer from Mike Vandriak. I'm going to the bathroom. So go ahead.
From 2004 to 2013. Okay. Whoa. Congratulations on that, Mike. You've now moved to a new area, a new deck, a new cut, and a new shuffle. I can't read the whole comment, but what are you doing now? It's now, Mike. I'm saying now because you're in a new spot, right? I would say and I can't read this whole comment, but it says from 2004 to 2000, I won first 17 times in the UNC, no training, okay? No training. Dave Ottaway won 9, training 7 days a week. All right. That's good. Now, from 2013, I take it you've moved. Now you're what we call south of any water. How are you doing now? Because now, if I know you're retired, you have more time to spend. And this isn't like to say you're an ass or nothing, but your methods that you used up there, do they work down where you are now? That's the question I have. You know, in 2000 and in 2004, I played at Olympic Marseille. I can't do that now, right? I'm not that person. What is it now? What are you doing now? That's my question. You've moved 120 miles or 100, maybe 150 miles south. What are you doing now with the same system of loft flying?
He says, this will be my first year flying widowhood. We will see. And Alfred says,
13,
that's the best.
14. Okay, so what were you doing last year when you flew old birds? I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're going to see this year. Mike's going for the W. And guys, let's root Mike on. We're going to follow. The one good thing is we got Mike on the show. And, you know, we have good stimulation conversation here, which is great. We're going to follow Mike. This is his first year flying widowhood in a total different area from where he was dominating before. And Mike was a good flyer when he was up north. He was a good flyer. He was a guy that you have to watch because he would do some winning. Back to you, Leah.
Okay. Well, on that note, all right, I think we're going to wrap this show up, seeing as it's 10:30 and we all have to be in bed for work tomorrow. So, guys, reminder, all clocks allowed now at the Pioneer Professional Racing Pigeon Club. So get your bands purchased because we know you guys are breeding and you're going to need the bands. As far as if you need registered bands, IF is the way to go. $30 for an IF membership, and you also get one of those Sky Talk News sent to you. I think they publish that yearly. A great magazine from the IF. Rita, it's really a privilege to have Alfred online with us. Absolutely, especially as newbies. Good to hear everyone's different training styles. And you know what, Rita? We are going to try and get Alfred on so we could do a question and answer with him, and so we can pick his brain a little bit. Also, coming in the new year, we're going to have a once-a-month sit-down chat with Tony Alvis. Tony Alvis is going to be in the house starting in January, once a month on our family show, where we're going to talk pigeons and pick his brain a little bit, so that's going to be fun. Mike Vandiak says, first year here, I won 3 out of the 7 club races in Young Birds. Well done, Mike. Good job.
Very good.
Alfred, if I may also come, I would like all the lovers to be with you, and then I will explain to them how we do it, and may also learn something from your way. There you go. Perfect. So it's a date. Alfred's going to be on. We're going to try and set it up where we're going to do a question and answer with Alfred and hopefully Kiki, because she's a little weapon there.
Hey, and did you hear? Maybe you guys learned something from me, and see how open his mind is? Maybe I learned something from you. A man that's national winner.
Yes.
He wants to learn from you guys. This man here, he's a deadly weapon.
Okay, so if I can say something.
No, you're fired, Ricky. I'm going to let you go.
Klaus, could you read the Bill Wema comment to Mike Vandiak? Sure, let me find it. Let me find the Bill Wema comment. Oh, here we go. Okay, Bill Wema. Sorry, I missed that comment. Bill Wema says, Mike Vandiak, Yelly Rosieres, that's who we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Yelly's a good friend of mine, and I can tell you he trains young birds similar to me. His focus is only the 4 national races in September, and I don't think many in Belgium are better in young birds. So there you go. So there's a European who trains equally as hard or similar to Bill Wema's style of training, which we do know that Bill Wema trains hard, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think now maybe Bill, I could be wrong. I think this is what I got. I think Yelly does his system, but when she comes down to the time for those nationals, he tweaks up the training. I think he's made kind of a hybrid of a European system with an American system or North American system, we'll see if Bill is right if he answers that because he's friends with him.
I heard through the grapevine that Bill Wema wears out a brand new Mercedes SL 500 every 2 years training.
Wow. Well, see, then Mike Bandiak says that is why he's a national winner. Mike, what are we talking about here then?
Mike, this is why he's a national winner. Who's a national winner?
I wonder how often the Jansen brothers trained by car. Did they even own a car?
I think they had big, strong legs.
You'll hear it even right from Staff Henry and Xavier Verstrada. Yeah. The best years for the Jansen brothers was in the 60s and the 70s. And after that, they built such a legacy. They were did they have a car? You know what? They had 7 brothers. One guy cleaned. One guy did the pedigrees.
One guy had big, strong legs. He rode the bicycle.
And guess what? Every year they changed their bell.
I can't even imagine having 7 brothers. Holy Lord. I can't even handle one. God bless them.
But they all live in the same house together. And they were only about 3.5, 4 feet tall.
They were they were the living version of the Keebler elves.
I think, Ryan, if we send you to Europe to fly, you're only allowed to train with a bicycle. So I suggest you start learning to pedal.
Listen. If Alfred would let me fly there at his place and I put a loft in, I would love to fly, but I will be his apprentice on flying.
Okay, I got a call came in on my phone. I got a call that came in on my phone, and they asked the question, do you believe it's good habit for your young birds to sit in the maple tree above the twisted sister?
All right, Dad.
What do you think? And somebody just called me up.
All right, well, that's a question for you. We'll save that for next week's show. We're waiting for Bill.
Oh, wait. I know that. Mike Vandiak. Why Alfred is a national winner? Because he is always trying to learn. That's right. We're all trying to learn. We're all trying to learn.
All I want to do is beat Alfred now. I just want to beat Alfred.
Last comment. Bill Wema. I know this. Every year I finish with 1/3 of what I start with, and there is only one top bird and a handful of good ones. Exactly. Easy there, Dad.
I believe it.
I agree with that. Make sure you get the drink down your throat, eh?
Well, the ice cubes are hard going down, boy, at this time of the year.
So Alfred listens to others, and he gets the best out of everything, which is what we're saying to do, right? Listen to everybody and selectively pick what works for you.
That's 100%.
That's right. And don't be afraid to make adjustments.
Get in a maple tree.
And pigeon racing, you can't get it out of a book. Doesn't come that way. It comes by watching the pigeons, getting to understand them, and talking to top pigeon flyers and listening and hearing and taking out of it what they all sort of similarly do together, right? You got to look for that because each guy is going to do, hey, Bill's a great flyer and Alfred's a great flyer, but they're doing 2 different ways. But they're going to do a lot of the things the same. But you have to figure out those same things.
Do you want me to tell you something? I know when my pigeons have a headache. Okay? I know when my pigeons have a headache. I can see it.
All right.
But you don't learn that overnight. And I think for the new people, I think you guys say that, I know my pigeons have a headache. I know how they're feeling. That is not something you learn overnight. It takes practice. It takes time in the loft. It takes, season after season.
My pigeons don't know if I'm a pigeon or
do you want me to tell you about dedication? Dean Pallett. He owned his own business, right? He was the boss, the foreman.
I know exactly.
And his job, he put a desk in his pigeon loft in the section of the loft.
It was his office.
And he answered the phone in the loft. 8 hours a day, he would sit in the loft and do business, his work business, in his pigeon loft.
I know,
because he was studying the pigeons and getting the pigeons used to him. And when he's talking on a phone to a business guy, he can look over and look at the red checker cock. Look at the blue checker cock. Look. That's called learning, studying, observing.
Reg Lane was a top pigeon man. He used to sleep in a pigeon loft.
Tony, don't do that.
Maybe
Back to you. Maybe Rita will be back. Back to you, Leah. Back to you.
Great show tonight. Great input from everybody. We love when we have these conversations. We don't always have to agree, but it's certainly great to get everybody's thoughts and opinions out there and have a great conversation. That's what this show is all about, and we thank you guys for your comments. Klaus says, how many guys in your maybe club are only training young birds 4 times to 10 kilometers and are the top dogs? None of them. Not that we know of, anyway. Maybe Mike Vandriak, but that's about it.
I want more flyers around me like Mike. Sorry, Mike. I don't mean to throw you into the bus on that one.
I'm going to talk to Tony next week, and Tony's going to say, I can't figure it out. Rita told me I should start sleeping in the pigeon loft.
Yeah, hey, Rita, for Christmas we have Pioneer sleeping bags that we're going to be selling.
Sleeping bags, there we go.
Robert
Daughtry says, all this information gives me a headache. Amen, brother. Go take a couple Tylenol. I'm right there with you. Troy Spencer, who wants to hire me so I can work from the pigeon loft? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Alfred, want to help once a month and tell me what I would do and give. Oh, so Alfred wants to do a show once a month too. Okay, well, you think of the topics, Alfred, and you're more than welcome to join us for the Gong Show every
Tony just got scrapped. Alfred, you're moving in.
I know another guy.
No.
What's his? I can't remember his name now. But he
11.
used to have a bottle of whiskey in his pigeon loft. And he'd go in a pigeon loft all night long and sit there.
Don't tell people that, man.
Yeah. Leah, you wrap it up, and then I'll finish her off. I have to finish off with something very, very important.
Okay, so Ryan's got something important to say to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for your questions and your comments. We really are creating quite a little pioneer family here, and I love it. And we will be back next Monday. Join Ryan and I tomorrow night. We'll be live with Guido Madruzin over at Feathers Elite Pigeon Auctions. He's got 10 super lots available for auction, one of which, lot number 8, is a nest brother to Pioneer Celebrity Superstar Recycle. So you guys check that out with us tomorrow.
You got him here?
Yeah, it's okay. We won't show them tonight. We won't show the birds tonight. It's fine.
We'll show them tomorrow. Tomorrow night, Feathers Elite Pigeon Auctions. Join Ryan and myself. We will be live with Guido Madruzin. Will Robert Daughtry, will Bill Wema give us his training method? Well, we'll have to invite Bill down to the village one of these Monday nights, and Bill can come down and be a celebrity guest speaker as well. You know what? The winter's long, and we should get some of these good flyers and people on, so it's not just the 3 of us jib-jabbering, and we can get some new blood in here, and people can fire the questions. So, Bill, you're more than welcome to come down to the village one Monday night. Open mic, and we're going to pick Bill Wema's brain for a little bit. And Mike Vandriak, you're welcome to come as well. I know it's far for you, but hey. We got a Holiday Inn just up the road, bud.
Brand new one.
Dave always says it's fantastic.
Good.
All right,
we're glad.
So I'm going to wrap it up from my end. Thanks very much, guys. And Ryan, go ahead.
Hey, I want to thank the IF and to all local clubs in our area. We are inviting you to come and participate on our Thursday night league. The clocks are open. Bring your clocks. Just support it. $3 bands, $5 bands. $10, $20, $50, $100 rings. Please, we're asking you, give us an opportunity. Expand the sport. Let's keep it growing. We all like to fly a whole whack of races. Pioneer Club is here for you guys. This has been a great night tonight. Thanks to Alfred. Thanks to Bill. Thanks to Mike. Thanks to Robert Daughtry. I'm missing a whole bunch of people. Rita, thank you. Ricky, thank you. I want to thank the cats for doing what they did. I want to hope to God that the computer gets fixed. Thanks to that guy, inch by inch, brick by brick, mile by mile. You hear me say it, but you got to do the work to get the results. And if you don't think Alfred's doing the work, loft flying takes a lot of work because you got to sit there and watch them. Thanks for flying with us, guys. We'll see you next Monday. Bye for now.
Have a great night, guys.